Greetings and salutations, gamers. Welcome to Cast Co-op, the podcast in which three podcast hosts cast together. I am one of your co-hosts, Luke Lore, the Insipid Ghost, and host of the Xbox Expansion Pass. Also, your resident Anthem, Crackdown 3, and Recore Stan. That's me, and I am joined by the host of Season Gaming's Bitcast, the man who will stand for Halo, for Anthem as well in my brotherhood, and of course, the man who will walk on coals for Biomutant, Mr. Ainsley Bowden. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm good, guys. I'm good. I'm never gonna live down Biomutant, am I?
No,
that's just part of my persona. My friend. I do like the Recore shout out though. I'll give you that. Recore was an underrated title. By the time they got it fixed up and the stuff added to it, it was underrated. Good game. I'm doing well, guys. Good to be back. I'm excited to chat today. It's an interesting day to chat of all days. We were joking earlier in the week. Well, maybe some stuff happens this week we'll have to talk about. And sure enough, man, not the best news, but we got news. So
we got news. Well, let me introduce now the man from the PlayStation fam, the guy who will go to bat for Days Gone any day of the week, the man who stands by Destruction All-Stars at all times, Mr. Joseph Moran, host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. How are you, sir?
Is it sad out of pretty much all those games you just listed off that Biomutant's the one that's going to probably get a sequel? Right? Isn't that a little painful?
I think out of the games you listed, Biomutant's the best one. So
better than Anthem.
No, well, that's tough. That's tough. So, I love Anthem, man. I love me some Anthem.
The promise of Anthem was better than Biomutant alone.
I chose a lot of those titles, boys, because it's games that we love, games that we like, Joseph especially. But really, just in general, they're fun. And I got this fancy jacket.
I ever say I loved Days Gone?
Every DM ever? Ains, you remember this, right? Doesn't he?
He stands Days Gone a bit.
Good games.
Every time.
I am excited for the sequel on that one.
Yikes.
I'm showing off my fancy new Crackdown 3 jacket. Boys, I won this in a charity giveaway from the gentleman who often puts together Xbox Fan Fest. How cool is that? And as a guy who genuinely does like Crackdown and Crackdown 3 included, I just love hunting those orbs. I'm not going to argue quality or pretend like that's something or another, but I enjoyed the game. I had fun with it. I wanted to show off my new digs. I'm not going to wear it the whole show, but it's a really nice jacket. It's a legitimately nice jacket. And I was like, cool.
Excellent. You know what's funny about that? I didn't plan this at all, but I'm wearing the one that I know you have too, Luke, the FanFest meta that we got at FanFest 2019 with the Xbox at the bottom here. And this thing is like, I wear it around the house because it's like genuinely super high quality. Yeah. Xbox has some nice merch, man. They really do.
My version of that shirt is framed actually, because I've only ever gone to one FanFest, and my hope is to go this year to get to go again. But it's got all the pins from that event.
Yeah.
Framed in there. My wife framed it all for me. How cool is that?
Nice. I've got no joke. The pins from that E3 are sitting right there on a cork board, like right over there.
That's cool.
As I move stuff around.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's cool. I have a Crackdown 3 pin that I won off of an online, like a back before the game had come out, just a retweet this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I have this, and then I have the steel case, and those are the only things I think that are fan or like merch for this
for Crackdown 3. I have the steelbook as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm disappointed, but like when you like something and there's not a lot out there, and I do want to get the Recore statue as well. That's something I want for sure.
The collector's edition?
Yeah, the collector's edition statue. That's on my list. I'm gonna that's one that I want I have one or two more shelves that I want to finish, and then anything that I get after that will be like just from new things. But yeah, I want to get Recore. I really did like Recore, like you said, once it got that definitive edition and cleaned up. And
it's funny. I swear it's funny you mentioned this stuff. So I said my pins from that event are right there on I can see them on the corkboard, and literally across my room, my Recore statue is sitting on the ground while I reorganize things. It's sitting right over there. It's kind of funny.
You know what? My mom, I just realized I'm using this cup. This is coincidental. This is the cup with the picture of me at FanFest that my mom made me for Christmas 2 years ago.
That's so cute.
It's cute.
Joe, did you help her with that?
I did. She didn't understand how a Teespring worked. But after some heavy
oh boy.
petting and we got her situated. I couldn't work that joke out, but yeah, we had sex.
There it is, everybody. There it is. Hey, can I take a moment? It's been a while since we've been together, but already we've got people in the chat. Kevin Ainsworth, Save Game Media, awesome dude. My new Xbox Expansion Pass co-host, Captain Logan, who has really helped me elevate the show, which I will humbly but sincerely brag, like we've really upped our game in XCP, and it's really thanks to Logan and teaching me a lot of video editing and stuff. Logan's there. I love working with him. That's been amazing. Random names in chat correctly pointing out that I was the reason we were late. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's correct.
And Midnight Dreary saying hello. This is cool, guys. Thanks for being here.
Awesome. Yeah, a bunch of channel members. Good to see you guys. Thanks.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the first episode of the new year of Cast Co-op.
Right? Is it?
I think it is.
My wife had, because we were gonna go last week, but then my wife had planned surgery, not emergency surgery or anything, but like we were busy then. Before that, it was just scheduling and timing and wanting to refresh. We all have our own shows, obviously outside of this, and here we are. So that's pretty crazy.
Look at us. Hey, who would have thought? Hey, can we before we talk about like some pretty heavy subjects, could we celebrate some cool things? That happened in the past week.
You're talking about like for content, because you had a big thing for Trophy Room.
I mean, we had the Trophy Room Awards. Over 5,000 people have already downloaded and listened to that episode, which is over 4 hours long and still has a really impressive retention rate. Like nice, I was really surprised. I was aiming at like I'm lucky if 30% of people get through this episode. Almost 70% of people have tuned in, watched a 4-hour show. So thank y'all so much. It's
Ains super... and I did not.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
No, I haven't. I'll be 100% honest. I have not finished it.
It's fine. But you were in it, so I understand.
He was in it?
Yeah. I was. Yeah. He invited most of the important people.
That's right. He invited me and Steve Vigvari and then canceled on us and never rescheduled. That's right. Never rescheduled. Well, by the way, I play COD with him every night.
It's a little bit more complicated than that, but if it makes Luke feel a little, yes, that's what happened. But the main thing that I actually I'd like to talk about before we get into the heavy news is like, y'all see that Last of Us show? Y'all see the Last of Us first episode?
You want to start with Last of Us? We can start with Last of Us.
Yeah, because I feel like the rest of these subjects they're awfully heavy. Okay. I would like some levity.
So for clarity, we're not going to spoil anything for anyone in chat. We won't make spoilers. However, I think it's fair to say, boys, you play the game, you've seen the show.
Yeah.
Right? Like in terms of events.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've watched it. Ains, you've watched it. Joe, take us away, buddy. I think this is you, buddy.
Yeah. I've watched it about 3 times. and then certain parts over and over again. And then I've been just devouring content about the show. So like the companion podcast, which has the creators on and Neil and Craig. And if you guys like the show or you just want to see like how the minds are thinking through a filtered lens, of course, listen to that companion podcast, because you could see that Craig understood the assignment when it came to adapting a video game, to a TV show. You could see that he genuinely knows what, that source material is, and more than knows it, is respecting the hell out of it, which we don't see enough in these adaptations. I'm looking at you, Uncharted, and I'm looking at like most adaptations of games right now are based on the universe and not so much the characters themselves. Like Arcane, for example, is one of my favorite shows. It's just animated insanely well. Those are based on some of the characters and loose adaptations of those characters, but they're really painting with a very broad canvas there. Castlevania, I don't know too much about. Cyberpunk, the anime, is not the direct adaptation of. The Last of Us show is, and I think it's the blueprint of of how you're going to tell a direct adaptation of a video game. With the same story, same characters, and man, they just hit it out of the park. There's so many references and Easter eggs that feel earned, and they don't feel like they're pandering. And I think that's such a delicate, art to kind of master, and they do it so well here. Like the one thing that I love the most about this show is the fact that there's one-off lines in the video game that exploring in this show, and it's doing such a good job exploring those little avenues in substitution for gameplay.
Now, we've seen a lot of video game adaptations in the last 10 years, from the Warcraft movie, the Uncharted movie, the Halo's had multiple movies, as well as the recent show, Sonic, Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider had the Alicia Vikander movie. You had I just said it. Oh, the Sonic movies, Sonic's 1 and 2, Sonic Prime, if you count that. We've seen a lot of really good and really missed video game stuff. I don't know if you would count The Witcher among them.
Probably.
I feel like Witcher 3 is well, there you get the books. So either way, kind of a muddy thing with The Witcher, but we've seen some really good and really bad kind of missteps in terms of video game adaptations. Ains, where would you rank The Last of Us on kind of the video game stuff?
Like adaptations?
Yeah,
very high. I really enjoyed it. I think Joe said it well, whereas if you're going for a direct adaptation, right? Like I know we've joked and talked a lot about Halo and what our expectations were and what they delivered, and quite disappointing for a lot of us on that front. Even though they were trying to tell they were taking elements of the lore of Halo and creating something new with it. I feel that it did kind of a disservice to Halo in a number of ways, and the characters, whereas Last of Us, I think, is taking it to just taking that core story and characters, which is really what Last of Us is about. I think that's one of the benefits they have in translating Last of Us right to a new medium. Is Last of Us strengths to begin with are characters and story. The gameplay is not the highlight of Last of Us. So it was already kind of that cinematic experience from a gaming perspective that felt easier to translate. And that's not to take anything away from it, but it suits the medium better than I think other games do. For reference, I actually watched it. I got super excited, of course, and I watched it with my wife, who knows I love the game but doesn't game. And then my mom is still here visiting, and she knew nothing about it whatsoever. And they've both already asked when episode 2 is. They really enjoyed it. My wife really likes it. I got, not a joke, when it intro and then they did the the cinematic intro and the theme song started playing. I looked at my wife. I was like, I can't listen to the song. And she looked at me. She's like, "You gonna be all right?" I was like, this is one of the few things gaming wise that just hits me in a way, I can't.
Oh, you get emotional? Like you get like teared up?
Yeah. That song just hits me. And I hold Last of Us as a game and Joel and Ellie incredibly high. They're top tier for me, only behind Chief and I don't know. They may be right there. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. I think that it's done well so far. I've heard that episode 3, which sadly we're 2 weeks out from, or a week and a half out from, is like the pinnacle of gaming shows. So I'm waiting. I'm really excited about that one. But I'm excited for Sunday.
I gotta say, my whole household, they can't wait. Even my job. Everybody's, and it's not because I've told them to or anything like that. Like my boss is watching, my coworkers are into it. My best friend Amy, as soon as that episode ended, she's like, "Can we watch it again?" Like it was, she legitimately, like, she's a huge horror fan, like Ains, and the one thing she loves is like the build up, and they were nailing it so much for her that she would. I know when she's getting nervous, she's talking a lot because she's Italian, and so like you could just see how amped she was getting at certain points, and at the Sarah scene leading up to it when they're in the car, and chaos is happening. There is a point where I literally, guys, I shed a single tear, and Amy's like, "Are you Are you crying? And I go, Amy, this is perfect. I'm like, this is perfect. Like, this is all the fears that I had for every video game adaptation of just bastardizing the thing I love. I'm finally getting what I really, really want. And shout out to Gabriel Luna as well, who plays such a great Tommy. He sounds like so dead on like Tommy, acts like him. Yeah, so much. I can go on. This could be an episode in itself. I love that show. But Luke, you don't give a crap about The Last of Us. You don't like it.
I actively dislike the games. That's true. And to be clear, for anybody that happens to be new in our show, it is not a matter of quality. Those games are near masterpieces of quality.
Well, the first one is.
The first one, I would say yes. The second one, no. But they're visual spectacles. They are very well acted. I think there's a lot of really high quality stuff. But to be very clear, I do not enjoy playing The Last of Us at all. I'm sad when I play it. I'm hurt when I play it. I don't feel good. And you guys know, if we take a step back from our trolling each other and being silly, I play video games to be overpowered and that superhero fantasy. That's why Crackdown is fun for me, right? Like, I'm overpowered and I'm jumping and getting more powerful. That's why I like playing as a Spartan in armor. That's why I like playing as a superhero in a silly costume. I don't like the feeling of realness may not be the right word in Last of Us, but there's a gritty edge to it that I appreciate, but I don't enjoy being a part of. I play video games for escapism and not in the way, like, I don't watch horror movies either, right? That's not, I got massive anxiety, brother. I just choose not to. Just how it is. So that's why I don't enjoy playing The Last of Us, and I've played through both of them. I don't like the way I played through Last of Us 2. I think it's kind of the Ragnarok problem where I forced myself to do it before I was ready to truly enjoy it. But I really don't enjoy it. And so in watching The Last of Us, which I did watch with my wife and my mother-in-law, and it was a great show. Because I don't like the source material, I struggled a little bit here and there, but Pedro Pascal is Joel. In the Joel that I like, Last of Us 1, love Joel. I am not on board with Bella Ramsey as Ellie yet, but she's very good. There were some people that were dedicated to Bella Ramsey immediately as Ellie, like, she's Ellie. I'm like, I don't see it yet, but I'm with you. But really and truly, boys, this is a fantastic show, and it made me, this is true, it made me want to play The Last of Us. It made me think to myself, do I have this series wrong? Have I approached it wrong? Have I misunderstood something? I mean, I've enjoyed it, but I was really happy to see this. Like, this made me feel good. This made me feel like when I watched the Sonic movies. This made me feel like when I watched the Tomb Raider Vikander movie. There are some adaptations that are just great.
Yep. By the way, Playa in the chat says no spoilers. He's playing through part 2 now, so let's be careful.
We won't spoil anything for you. We won't spoil anything for you.
Gamefire has a question that I'd like to comment on, because he or she said, if the source material are so on point, then what's the point of doing the story from the game? Just play the game. And what I would say to that is, for someone like, oh, sorry, Luke, I was looking at the chat. I was going to say, for someone like my wife, right? She doesn't really game, and she has no interest in playing through Last of Us. So I think really you're just translating this story, which for many of us, the characters, like I said already, the story and the characters are meaningful and hold some weight and importance to. You're translating that for an audience who will only consume this type of media versus, say, the game. So it's just broadening the audience is what I would say.
How many wonderful stories are held back by a medium? You know?
Yeah, fair point.
It's just how it is. Like, some people, many people are never going to play The Witcher 3. But I really hope somehow the Bloody Baron storyline,
it's a sad world,
finds a way in, because to Joe was sitting there with his family watching The Last of Us. My mother,
as was I,
watching The Last of Us. Like, that's a really cool way to bring people together to talk about something. And not for nothing, when it's done well and the source material is respected, that allows people like us to invite people into our medium. And that is what is sorely missing in Halo. That is what is sorely missing in Warcraft from that film, and the Monster Hunter movie. And
there was a Monster
Logan
Hunter
correctly
movie.
pointed out to me.
Yeah,
Logan,
but I mean, the
Resident
game,
Evil,
the movie was just as bad as the game. You know what I mean? So don't worry about Monster Hunter.
Yikes. But Resident Evil, the show on Netflix, that actively turns people away from wanting to play the games. And so there's that element to it.
I think also, art translates differently. So like, why make a game into a show? For all those examples you just did, but it's also like, well, why remake a movie? The movie's already made. It's like, because there's a different vision behind it. Different actors could translate a role differently. Hearing Troy Baker talk about Pedro Pascal's performance, he's like, damn, there are points where I was mad at myself of like, why didn't I think of it like how Pedro portrayed certain scenes? Like, actors, directors have these different visions that can either enhance a property, bring it to new audiences that would never be interested in a thing, and it makes it so that the audience can and the existing audience appreciates it even more. Just like, Harry Potter or Star Wars, there's books to Star Wars, there's movies to Harry Potter, and the audience gets to just consume them and choose what story and what adaptation is their favorite. But it's really just broadening it out to everybody, and you're getting to see different versions or different visions of story and characters, and it kind of gets enhanced for you as a viewer. So yeah,
very fair. I mean, one more example, which we've talked about, my mom, who's here and watched it with us, is 80 years old, right? She's not going to sit down and play Last of Us. She didn't play a game in her life, and has no interest to do so, but she enjoyed, she enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
And my wife is, I've said many times, we love horror. And so she also, by the way, we didn't comment that this is from Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl for HBO. And my wife adores Chernobyl. She's watched that series, like, for whatever reason, right? You think it's a like it's a heartbreaking, like, that's just the stuff we're into. She's watched it like 8 times, top to bottom.
Blink 3 times if you need out.
Yeah.
So no, she was really into it. So between being like, kind of zombie-like, right, with Last of Us and the fungal infection and the story behind it, and then being well produced, she's all about it. So
yeah, it's awesome.
I hope sincerely that all the video game adaptations on their way, Halo Season 2, Gears of War, Warhammer, although I would not say that's a video game adaptation, but that's the one Cavill's on, right? I think Amazon's doing one more that's video gamey.
God of War.
Netflix God of War, Horizon. Yes. Yep. Sincerely
Peacock has
hope.
Twisted Metal.
Damn it.
Yikes.
Twisted Metal news has not been good for me lately, boys.
I think in general, we have seen some really good examples and some pretty big misses. Like, I really wish showrunners would recognize that if you're going to choose to make a video game adaptation, the source material is important for someone involved to be kind of looking at, guiding the ship. It doesn't need to be one-to-one as a la Last of Us, but it does need to showcase quality and respect the fans that name brings in. Does that make sense? Because I don't know that the Halo show brings people in.
Well, the sad thing is, right, like, I know that we and much of the community, at least anecdotally, disappointed in the Halo show. And then you see that it had a ton of viewers, right? It was the #1 show on Paramount last year. The debut had more viewers than Last of Us. Now, whether or not that continued, we don't know. We only know the debut numbers, right? And to your point, Luke, what it did,
HBO.
Paramount has less subscribers than HBO, and yet more people watched Halo than Last of Us. So then the number, and that's what worries me, right? Because we know what the user score, if you will, right, of the community is for Halo. It's not the best. I know there's plenty of people that enjoyed it, and if you enjoyed it, great. But at least anecdotally, the vast majority of people I know who are into Halo, right, are kind of either indifferent or negative on it. Whereas it seems almost universal that Last of Us as a TV show is loved, right, so far. My issue, to your point, Luke, is I completely agree with you. It's like, show respect for the source material, and the showrunner should do that. But it concerns me. It's almost similar to the conversation, and this is my own opinion here, but something like Ragnarok, where the sales are high, the critic score is high. What are the people way up here that aren't on the Twitter gaming community, right? If they see those figures and they're just looking at spreadsheets, to them, it's a resounding success. Why would they change anything? And so if you're a showrunner who's looking and saying, we're the number one show on Paramount in 2022, we had 5 million viewers for our debut, we had 20 million viewers per episode, we nailed Halo. You know what I mean? Like, why would they think any different?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I disagree with Ragnarok. I think it's great.
But, no, I know. But it was just, remember we talked about that, right? Like, why someone looking at just figures, right, would they think anything else?
I mean, I think you're right. In Paramount, they need subscriptions desperately. So, like, I don't think they care what's on there as long as it's somewhat family friendly and brings in subscribers. I mean, bottom line, they care about subscribers. But yeah, no, it is a worrying sign when I see like something like the Uncharted movie pull in 400+ million at the box office type of deal.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, what is telling those people that Uncharted is not what we wanted? I mean, on a non-hardcore gamer or Uncharted fan, it's a resounding success. And I think that's where these two things may differ a little bit, is it feels like the Halo show was a big success. What are we doing? Sorry, for those on audio side, Joe just disappeared on us, so bear with us.
His mic was cutting out, so he's going to reconnect.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because of that.
The lessons of when you see.
So there's new showrunners for Halo for season 2. So I think many of us are hopeful. Well, they've hopefully learned that season 1 wasn't as well received as we had hoped. They hopefully take a turn, right, and do something to make it better in our eyes. But I just don't know if this is such a success from the general audience of Paramount viewers, or however you want to look at this, right? I don't know if there's anything kind of telling them to do that. I don't see why they would.
That's a fair question. And it's hard to argue that when it comes to numbers. How do you argue numbers versus customer satisfaction when the numbers all say there's satisfaction there? Yeah, that's a real tough one, because I am of the staunch opinion that Ragnarok and The Last of Us 2, and I shouldn't say this without Joe, because he would dispute it.
Sure.
Both are in desperate need of an editor. They needed some trimming.
I know we're in the minority, right? Like, we both agree on that, but the critics, they're both critically super highly rated. Most, at least anecdote, I don't know. It's hard to argue anecdotes, but critically rated and sales rated, they're both very, very high.
Yeah, and I think it's something when I caught the tail end, and I could just assume what y'all talked about. And again, we also got to step out of the Twitter noise for a sec, because my brother played The Last of Us for the first time, back in October. He's wrapping it up now, with part 2 now, and he's loving both of them. And he's not putting he's like, obviously part 1 story is better. He's like, gameplay in part 2 is fantastic though. And so
it is.
He's just like, yeah, no, they're both really this is great. So I also feel like we do have to take a step back and go, maybe it's not reality. The one thing I do want to mention before we jump out into the more serious topic as well, because we talked, or we didn't talk on the trophy room a few weeks back. We talked about Neil Druckmann saying that he wants to make the writer's room look more like a TV show, in terms of like writing for a game, making it look like a writer's room on a show. That really excites me, because it seems like Neil's getting out of the way with certain with certain aspects and bringing more voices in to the conversation. But it excites me in a way of Neil Druckmann is learning from one of the best showrunners on how to produce a narrative and how to translate narrative. And so I'm just excited to see a hopefully Dave Filoni like embrace of different medium into Naughty Dog. So, if y'all don't know who Dave Filoni is, I talked about it a little bit on this week's Trophy Room. He is our new George Lucas. We trust him more than George Lucas when it comes to Star Wars.
Yes,
and he learned from the best when it came to George. He understood the rules of the road thanks to George, and he was able to elevate it into live action because of oh my god, the guy that made Iron Man, Jon Favreau. Mm-hmm. So to see what he's going to learn from making this show and how he's going to translate it to games, that really, really excites me.
Do they have an editor in that writing room?
I hope.
Can I suggest one?
Sure.
Please?
Yeah, absolutely. Ains, do you have the qualifications? Have you,
wrote a goddamn
book? Yes.
No. Unlike some of the Twitterverse, I will point out a problem, but I'm not suggesting I have the answer.
Sometimes it reminds me of like armchair analysts on like Sundays where they're like, I played football in high school. I'd have run that play right there.
Yeah. Why'd you run that play? We back in junior high, we ran this one. It would have worked.
It worked every time. I'd tell you what I would have done. It's like, okay, you've played.
I like how you took it Southern.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're dumber. Whatever. I live south of the Mason-Dixon. They are dumber.
That's fine. It's true.
Whatever. I educate people for a living. Anywho, I want to shout out our chat. They're having a dope conversation, which is really cool. Also, play. I also like Star Trek. There's like 6 of us out there. What's up?
My wife is a Trekkie.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. Very good, man.
Yeah. By the way, I have a theory on Last of Us real quick. I don't want to stay on it, on the games. But I say this word too much, I realize. But anecdotally, the people that I've seen who were disappointed with part 2, like me, right, are the people who played part 1 at launch in 2013 and over the past 8 years or 7 years, however it was between the 2 games, had kind of this really deep connection with Joel and Ellie as characters. And I think our problem with Last of Us 2 is not the gameplay, not the production values. Those are amazing. But what they did to make the point that they made in part 2's story, it feels like they damaged what we had in our heads of what Joel and Ellie were.
Yeah.
So no spoilers, but I've noticed when I have that discussion with a lot of people, whether they loved part 2 or not, that's the dividing line a lot of the times.
Day one, baby.
Yeah, but you're a PS fanboy. I mean, you're a pony. So
I played Last of Us at launch. I thought it was. I really enjoyed, and I'm glad I played Last of Us 1 at launch. But I did not go back and play it on PS4 or PS5 subsequently. To me, that was a one and done. Like I watched it. I played it. Never gonna play it again. Well, I may, but like you know what I mean. It was like that movie you watch. You're like I'm so glad. Like Interstellar. That movie's so good, but it made me feel so painfully that I was like, I don't need to do that again.
Yeah, I've seen like one scene out of that movie, and like I don't think I'm emotionally ready.
Yeah.
What movie? I'm sorry, I was typing in the chat.
I said Interstellar as an example.
You haven't seen Interstellar, Joe?
No, I saw one scene, and I was like, oh, I could see how that could damage my mental health. So I think you're gonna.
It's good.
It's literally one of my favorite movies of all time. It is brilliant.
Sure. Yeah, no,
easily mine too, but I've never watched it a second time.
Yeah. Really? Wow. Okay.
Man, the Michael Caine's narration of "Do not go gentle into that good night." That haunts me. I think about that poem with his voice, and that's a powerful thing. And like The Last of Us, the first game has, and I'm not going to spoil anything. There are 2 parts that I will never let go of. 2 emotional moments in that game that I'll never ever let go of. And one thing with a giraffe, which I thought was dumb. But I'll never let go of it. And it was so good. It was so wonderful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And truth be told, boys, and we troll each other often, but like that is what makes Last of Us a masterpiece. That makes several games that we talk about a lot a masterpiece. Is how it makes us a masterpiece. Is how it makes us feel, and how we feel while we play games says a lot about who we are as people. Like, what is it do you go for? Do you go for an emotional investment? Do you go for a thrill? Do you go to be scared, having just come off of Callisto? Do you go to just shoot the shit with your friends, and that's what you game for, and that's what you live for? Like, whatever you show up to game for, I think says a lot about your opinions on video games as a medium. Does that make sense?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
And it matters how deep you want to think about the medium as well. Sure.
Big Box is cracking me up for the chat.
What's it saying?
You could read it, but yeah, the funny thing is, and I talked to Travis about this too, is that genuinely, I seem to find a way to enjoy like every aspect of gaming for the most part. Not every single genre or anything, but like I am in my element if I'm online playing multiplayer, as you guys know. I'm in my element if I'm being ultra competitive. That's just part of what I live for. I can really enjoy just an open world, lose yourself in a game. I love getting completely invested in a world, as you guys know. I love games like Callisto for their setting. Like I can usually find aspects of games that I truly enjoy when I'm really, doing that. But I just love video games, to be honest with you guys.
I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah. Obviously, I think we all three of us do.
Yeah, I mean, obvious statement, but
the part that I can't do anymore is get super competitive. I don't get super competitive any longer. I don't have that within me, that type of energy within me.
I wish I had that, but no matter what, I will be toxic.
Joe will be 45-12 in COD and be like, "Sorry, boys, bad match." And I'm over here excited. I'm 22-10. All right. And he's like 45-12. I really let the team down.
Yeah.
Like, meanwhile, we got our buddy.
I thought when you said 45, I thought you were making a joke about me because I'm 45 this year. And I was like, I'm still competitive.
12. Yeah.
Look at you.
All right, boys, enough about this preachy love of video games. I'm tired of it. I'm ready to put my accountant hat on, and I'm ready to get toxic.
All right. Well, sir, bring up the topic. What you got?
All right. So first and foremost, actually, let me lose the bit for a second. A lot of people's lives have been impacted this week, both in tech, games, journalism.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's all over the place at the moment.
Hurts.
We got Ubisoft in admitted some hot water, some Skull and Bolden references aside, they're about to enter some uncharted waters in terms of how their fiscal year looks like. I believe it was a 10% downturn on what was expected from them. Yves Guillemot, the CEO, said, "Hey guys, the ball is in your court to turn this ship around." Now he's since walked back those statements.
Walked that back.
Barely.
Not even a lot.
Barely.
No, he did the redirect apology, which I despise. It's like saying someone comes to you and say, yeah, exactly. It's like someone comes to you and says, "You really, hurt my feelings with that," and them saying, "I'm sorry you feel that way." That's not an apology. Yeah, sorry. It pissed me off as reading his comment. Go ahead.
I say that at a lot of parent conferences.
So. And then we have this week, Microsoft has, laid off over 10,000 people in its workforce. I think before they employed over 220,000 folks. So they are, again, laying off a good chunk of their workforce, or not a good chunk, but, that's a lot of goddamn people. And it's affected across the company, whether that's in HoloLens, whether that is in Xbox games, even Word is affected. This has been a pretty crappy week for games and the people that cover them, because even, GameSpot, Giant Bomb, we're seeing a whole bunch of companies that cover games lay off a ton of people while still posting impressive profits, which is aggravating to see, to say the least. So I want to get to Ubisoft first. Let's start this out, because Ains, you had something you wanted to share where you're like, everybody is catastrophizing Ubisoft. Like, this
Yeah.
is it. They're done. They're over. They can't come back from this. And you're like, facts and figures prove otherwise. So I want to know your take. I want to know why you seem a little bit more optimistic than most about Ubisoft's situation.
Okay. Optimistic's a strong word. We'll start there. Let's use realistic.
All right, realistic.
So yeah, I think one of the things, and I know we talk in our DMs about this a lot, and I preach about it a lot, but Twitter gaming community, I've met incredible people there, including both of you, by the way, and many other people. And there's some fantastic people that I interact with on a daily basis, and I love it. But as we all know, there is a lot of stuff in the online social media gaming community that is not only the toxic side of things, which we completely stay away from, right? But is maybe a little disingenuous, maybe a little reactive would probably be a good word. It's like news hits, everyone's got to have a reaction. And sometimes it feels like people try to one up each other with their reactions. And I just wish people would just take a minute, take in the information, look at the facts, and develop a response in a little slower, more methodical pace. And so when the news with Ubisoft came out, the earnings call last week, I believe it was, and we reported on it at the site. And then, we get the Eves, walking, not even walking back. I don't even like using that phrase, but, talking to his staff about it. It's disappointing. And I think that many of us have very fond memories of Ubisoft over the past, say, 2 decades of delivering a lot of experiences that were memorable. I adore the Rayman 2D games. We had things like Child of Light that was delivered by them. They kind of set the ground ablaze with Assassin's Creed. Whether you like it or not today, it doesn't matter. Assassin's Creed is one of the biggest IPs in gaming. You have things like Far Cry. Far Cry 3 is kind of beloved. It set a new standard at the time. So, there's the Ghost Recon series, a lot of fond memories with different Ghost Recon games. I could go on, right? Division is beloved by a pretty big group of people. But it definitely feels like over the past few years, wasn't it like, if I recall correctly, I want to say it was maybe 2019-ish, maybe just before the pandemic, that they came out, they said like 6 of their major games are going to take a little longer. And they said they want to make them feel a little more unique and different from one another. That was a few years ago, right?
Yep, correct. I remember that.
Okay. And what we've seen, whether the pandemic has affected all companies, we know that. But what we're seeing out of Ubisoft is, I think it was Benji actually who quoted something from the earnings call where one of the employees asked Yves, "Why are we chasing trends instead of setting them?" And I think that was a fantastic question, because Ubisoft did, for a long time at least, set some trends and create some new IPs and new experiences. And all of their recent experiments, be it X Defiant, which by all accounts was a disaster, Ghost Recon Frontline, which by all accounts was a disaster, things like Roller Champions, which is actually a pretty fun game, was just launched in they just threw it out there. And you know what I mean? And it just left to die. And there's just a
Ghost Recon
Breakpoint. Breakpoint was a launch disaster. Things like Far Cry felt like they got stale, and there's just a lot of kind of baffling decisions over the past several years. So I think,
can I add one? I want to add one that crucially stands out to me, and Logan and I talked about this one this past week. Starlink. Do you remember Starlink?
Yeah.
I do.
Game I genuinely loved because I like Star Fox, right? If you have an old school Star Fox affinity, this game, it was a Star Fox game. Even if you got it on Switch, you could play as Star Fox. This game was fun, but then they chasing trends. Why was there a Toys to Life element 3 years after Skylanders shuts down? My math might be off on that, but like Skylanders was done. Skylanders was the biggest. Disney Infinity was done. It was the second biggest. Lego Dimensions, third biggest, done. Ding, 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 done. And then suddenly Ubisoft with Starlink, something no one's ever heard of, not a known IP. Toys to Life. Why?
Yeah. It's Ubisoft finds itself in a really weird position, because to me, I love them. I think, everybody had such fondness for them back in like the PS4, Xbox One generation, where it did feel like they were setting things, they were doing things that were ambitious, that took risks. And I think of games like The Division and like the amazing ideas that game had, and even to some extent, games like Watch Dogs as well. Watch Dogs 2 being fantastic and the best in that series. And I'll fight anybody who
I love Watch Dogs, honestly.
Yeah. So like,
as well.
Watch Dogs Ubisoft was in a good place a few years back, and it just seems like all of a sudden, bam, like a light switch, it's hurting. And the projects that they're making, you're right, they're chasing trends, right? Like Hyperscape was this battle royale. Why? Because everybody has a battle royale, right?
Yep.
Roller Champions exists. Why? Because Rocket League exists. Where Ubisoft prior, you had like Ubisoft Indies, and they were really cool special games. You had games like Valiant Hearts, right? Child of Light, all published by Ubisoft, indie experiences. And now you have like, we have Valiant Hearts 2, but it's only for Netflix. And we have maybe an Assassin's Creed thing planned, and it's with Netflix. It just feels like they're partnering for survival purposes, and they're doubling down on IP that, like Assassin's Creed, that is a cash cow because they need it right now. They need a live service thing, or they feel like they're going under. Yeah.
So
they tried NFTs and they did free to play. They did the free to play stuff. They entered the mobile market.
NFTs. Yeah.
It's wild. Ains, you were going to say?
No, I was going to get back. I know I was talking for a while. I was going to get back to Joe's original question.
Sorry, yeah.
Which, so that's all the context that we have, right? As a gaming community, that's how I think all of us kind of view Ubisoft. But whether we agree with it or not, the fact is that their revenue continues to go up, and it may feel like they're in trouble, but they're genuinely or generally speaking not. And then sorry for the flashing on the screen if you're watching us with video. What I was pulling up, and I was talking to some people they got the other day, is here's their fiscal results. Here's what they've done, in the past 15 years, and as you can see, they've gone up and up and up and up and up. And let's not forget that Skull and Bones has seemingly been a mess, right? In the sense of the development struggles, it's been delayed like 6 times. But despite all that, it could still launch and sell well and do well. We don't know. The Twitter gaming community, the majority of the people, what we always talk about, who will buy this game, right, are not the people that even are aware of that it's been delayed 6 times.
Yeah.
They, it'll just come out. It'll be a pirate game. If it's good, it's good. People will buy it. But they also have, let's not forget that Assassin's Creed Valhalla, whether you liked it or not, doesn't matter. That game made over $1 billion. It's one of their most successful, if not their most successful title in history. And they have this huge roadmap, as we know, for what Assassin's Creed looks like in the future. They have Division Heartland coming. A lot of caveats here, I realize, but whether or not that's going to be good, who the hell knows? I hope it is. I like Division. We'll see. But it's a free-to-play experience built on Division 1 and 2 kind of backbone, right? So if that suddenly generates millions of players and has some sort of battle pass monetization, which I'm sure it will, who knows how that performs. My point is that I see a lot of shows and I see a lot of content creators saying Ubisoft is dead, and is Ubisoft still going to be here in 2 years, and all these crazy outlandish things. And it's like, that's a reactionary.
Microsoft buy domains.
Oh, Jesus. So it's just, these are outlandish reactionary statements. And that's what really I try to stay away from as much as possible when we talk about gaming topics. Because if you stop, look at what's coming. I think Insider Gaming, Tom Henderson over there, he did an article earlier today that like there's 10 or 12 Ubisoft titles that are releasing in the next 12 months. And it's like, if you look at their fiscal results, you look at their release calendar, you look at their IP strength, I don't think Ubisoft is going anywhere. Whether we like their content or not is irrelevant. The money talks, right? So they clearly could be better for, I think, what we think of the general gaming community. But I think this talk of Ubisoft's dead and they're going to die and they won't be around in 2 years, and all this stuff we're hearing, I think is vastly premature.
Yeah. There's some strange choices that they make, though, not just the trend chasing, but like Skull and Bones has to come out because of their deal with Singapore.
Right.
That's a very strange thing. Beyond Good and Evil is vaporware at this point, best I know. I mean, I don't know anything, don't misunderstand me, but I mean, like, we've not seen that anywhere. There's been a lot of strange choices by Ubisoft that are, I think, a little bit baffling, that just make me wonder, why are we making these choices when we've got IP that are guaranteed to generate interest? Splinter Cell being my prominent example there.
Yeah.
Why has Sam Fisher not made a return when Ubisoft seems so lost? Excuse me. One element to this, they are making money. Your chart is well noted. You answered Rob in the chat. Good stuff. But like, Logan's playing Valhalla right now. Our buddy Suddy, I think Suddy was playing a Ubisoft game recently, like Valhalla. A lot of people are still playing those games. Those games are huge, and you can play for months on end. And that there's something to that, I suppose.
Yeah, and you know, to your point, right? Like, we talk about Sam Fisher, and I know that it's a long running kind of joke that makes us all cry at this point, that we haven't had a real solid Splinter Cell game in so long. Again, the fact is, when Splinter Cell was what we would consider the peak, that game wasn't even selling that well. Go back and look at the sales for those games. They weren't big hits. They just weren't. It feels like they were. And we talk about Splinter Cell all the time, and we talk about Sam Fisher, but there's a reason Ubisoft stopped investing and moved to other IPs. I'm not defending it, and I completely agree. I'm as hyped as anyone about Sam Fisher returning, and I want a fully fledged single-player Splinter Cell game. Yeah, I'm completely in agreement there. I'm just saying, if you look at the facts, and it's almost funny, right? Because we're kind of going back to the conversation with Last of Us and Halo TV show, which is, if you're an executive or a leader looking at sales, looking at revenue, looking at profits, the statistics would have told you that Splinter Cell was not doing it for you.
Now, there's two comments in the chat that I'd like to dissect and point at. AMMO writes, the Twitterverse. I totally butchered
there's just one A there.
Ammo. AMA.M.O. There you go. Alan writes, the Twitterverse is such an echo chamber with the loudest noises made by people who are very smart at making ignorant hot takes for clicks. Yes, that's one thing. You know, I've been doing being way more active in the past few months of trying to disassociate Twitter with reality. Because we often say, like, Twitter isn't real. It's not. And like, whether you're boycotting, you know, Hogwarts Legacy, or, you know, yelling at someone because, you know, someone at Kotaku, it's like, this is not reality. What we're participating in is an echo chamber, and we kind of have to realize that. And it goes to Big Box's comment here. Trend chasing is a term that I hate. Everyone in the industry chases trends. Mario 64 started a pretty big trend. Chasing trends is just intelligent strategy. And I think there's a point to be made there, because look, Ubisoft could have taken shots in the dark with certain IP or certain games, and it could have not panned out for them either way, whether they were chasing a battle pass or a total new idea. You're right. I think there is, you know, when you see the profitability of a Fortnite, Call of Duty, Warzone, you know, you're probably asking yourself, why can't I do that with some of the IP that I have? Why can't I turn Rainbow Six Siege into something that can compete with Call of Duty? But I think it goes to a creative outlet where, you know, we take a look at Elden Ring, right? Elden Ring is inspired by, and you could even say chasing a trend that is made by Breath of the Wild. But, you know, From Software took the inspiration there from Breath of the Wild and said, we really liked how, you know, this open world explored environments in such a way. Well, what if we did that, but with, our flair of dungeons, of difficulty, of these, world bosses? What if we do that through gameplay instead of just, environmental storytelling, environmental, instances, I guess. So I think it's another problem of like, yeah, Hyperscape could have done really well if it was doing something different that hooked more people than it was actually doing. Because like Fortnite did it with PUBG, right? Call of Duty did it back with Fortnite. All three of those games are viable and are making those companies money. It's just how much money are they making? What's that?
And Apex, another big one.
Apex, yeah. So it's are you doing something different and unique, and is that going to hook people? It's a huge risk to take. Yeah.
Well, one thing I'd like to see, just out of curiosity, it doesn't tie a lot, but like we talk about Ubisoft's talent and kind of their ability to create new games. Look at Immortals: Phoenix Rising.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, pretty beloved game, very highly rated critically, seemed to sell well. But I maybe they're out there and I haven't seen them. But I wonder, from Ubisoft's leadership perspective, was that game a hit? Did that game make money for them from a single player kind of experience? I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, I'd be curious as well. So I feel like this is it's a big talk, because it is like, yeah, they are chasing trends, but I think they're chasing trends with things that are, for lack of better words, like unimaginative, right? Where like Division was something different, it was something unique, and that was a trend that they could have explored even more with the sequel that they failed to do. And now you see games, and this is talking out of pure ignorance, like games like Tarkov pop out of nowhere, that takes that Dark Zone like vibe and just brings it to a whole new level. Now you're seeing people like Naughty Dog going, we could do something like that. So it feels like there's trends that they set that they don't follow through on too. So there's I don't know, a lot of thoughts, but more than that, just frustration.
Well, sure. I think a lot of us are we sit here almost scratching our heads. That's what's coming out as you speak, is like it feels like they have the talent, they have the ideas, they have the capabilities, they have the publishing arm, like they have all the things to continue being the growing bigger success that we'd like to see. Right. And they're somehow fumbling the ball along the way. Even though they're making money, like we pointed out, for what seems like a lot of us that really kind of adored Ubisoft in the past, or like some of their IPs, feels like they're fumbling a lot. And it's hard to argue they're not, right? Like we learned today, or we learned last week, more projects were canceled. We learned today through VGC and I think Insider another that Project Q was canceled. So they don't seem to be allocating their resources efficiently, I guess would be a better way to say it.
That's the part that makes you frustrated with anything. And I know we're going to talk about Halo, is when you see talented people at studios, you hear about all this talent, you hear and see the potential, you see the quality. It's like when you watch a movie that got nerfed, and you see the little bits here and there. If you watch Uncharted, you can see that someone there was like, can we do this? Can we try this? The opening scene of Uncharted is the airplane scene. Yeah. Like you could see that they wanted and they just missed it. And I hate that when you can see the attempt and it's just not there.
Yeah. And then so Fishstring says in the chat, I might have missed this, that The Crew 3 is another game. Now that's a live service racing game that they have. And they had The Crew 2. There were a lot of expectations for that game. I didn't enjoy it out of the gate, but it got a lot of updates, and I don't know how that performed financially. Obviously, if they're making a third one, it feels like, I guess it did okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ubisoft's a weird one, man. I think this next year is going to tell a pretty strong tale once you get to the end of fiscal 2023, which would be kind of end of March, end of first quarter next year. Yeah, so you're 15 months, right? The next 15 months are going to tell a tale for Ubisoft and kind of define where they go. We got to see if Division Heartland is going to be a hit. We got to see how Skull and Bones actually lands. Obviously, Assassin's Creed Mirage comes out this year. That's a big release as well. We got to see if the people who rant all the time about, I want the classic Assassin's Creed experience, is that going to actually prove to be profitable for Ubisoft. There's a lot of questions that are going to be answered. Yep. And Avatar, thank you, Playa. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. And why that game is not out with Way of the Water, I don't know, but I have to assume they're going to have a tie-in with maybe home release or something later.
Well, and that's the one thing with the Avatar game. That seems like one that that is the golden goose. That is their most, that's I mean, that's an IP that there's no reason why that thing can't sell buku bucks. And
that's James Cameron saying, "Don't screw up my IP."
Yeah,
and they've spent a lot of money developing that thing.
Yeah,
a lot.
It seems internally like it's ambitious from what we've heard, so much so that Disney's like, "Hey, would you like a Star Wars game too? Because this looks great." So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So Layer Cake mentioned.
It's important. Sorry,
Joe.
Got too excited.
I was just going to say Layer Cake mentioned the Star Wars game too, but that's not coming out in this fiscal year. So
I'm all about that Avatar game. That is on my most anticipated list, and I've not seen it at all, and that sucks. That sucks because of the games I know about this year. There's only so many that I'm like hyped for. Games I'm looking forward to, sure, but hyped for is probably something a little bit different. I got Jedi Survivor in there.
Diablo,
no, that's not a Luke game, but I'm excited for it. Excited, not hyped. Maybe that's it.
You know, I tried to defend Luke earlier, and I try. It's really hard.
It's really hard.
No, you're misunderstanding. Excited for and super hyped, I think, are two different things. Maybe I'm not.
They absolutely are. You've just got the wrong ones in buckets. That's all.
Ains, you're bald.
Can we talk about how he runs an Xbox show and didn't mention Starfield or Redfall or Forza?
I'm getting very excited for Redfall. Surprisingly. Yes. I think I talked about this. Maybe it was on XEP, but surprisingly excited for Redfall. Did not expect to be. It didn't do anything for me, but once I found out it wasn't like Left 4 Dead, which I love Left 4 Dead, but we've done it. We've done it a lot lately. And that id was working on gunplay, and I saw that footage. I was like, I'm in. Joe,
you know what's cool,
buddy? I'm in. Because I was not there until I saw that.
You know what's cool is you could have watched the video I put up 6 months ago and known all that. But that's cool. I'm glad you finally got there.
Some stuff that I gotta need some perspective on.
Yeah.
See what I'm doing? It's like I know we're gonna fight in a few minutes. So I'm like,
but yeah, no, I'm super like we got Redfall, we got Jedi Survivor, we got Diablo, we got a Spider-Man. You ever heard of that?
Yes, that's one. Yep.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2. So like, yeah, things are looking good. I'm not excited for Starfield. I don't hide it. It looks just any other Bethesda game studio game, but Redfall is it, man. I'm pumped.
I think Starfield.
I got two co-hosts who aren't excited for Starfield. You hear this? You hear what I got to work with?
Because you don't know any. You've watched one trailer. And all you hear is that it's Skyrim in space. It's like, okay.
Luke, you just ranted about Redfall. We know more about Starfield than we do Redfall.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. But I'll tell you what, I'm stoked for this developer direct that Xbox is doing. I'm stoked that they're going to do a solo one on Starfield. And I really hope, really, really hope that they're both fantastic hits, not because of me, but because the fan base deserves it. But this is proof and pudding. Are you going to be a studio that dabbles in the 80s? Or are you going to bump into the 90s and compete for Game of the Year regularly? That's what I want to know from Microsoft. Because I swim in sevens. I'm wearing a Crackdown jacket. I love having fun. But I want to know, where's your line? What's the demand for quality out of Microsoft? Where do you stand? Like Matt Booty curating... what is it that you're looking to do and accomplish? That's why I'm hoping that Redfall and Starfield crush, because I don't want the conversation to be, but Game Pass, you can get a ton of games, but they're not as good. I don't like that conversation. I love exploring all types of games. I spit. It was gross. I love exploring all types of games. I saw it happen too. It was like, but I do want those top tier caliber things. I love Halo Infinite, but how much of our DMs lately, boys, have been arguing about its delivery in the last year? That sucks. Joe was with me when we first saw gameplay of Halo Infinite. I lost my mind excited. He watched his buddy.
It got close, man. It was an 88 meta. It got close to your 90.
And honest to goodness, I loved it. Loved it. But did it miss the mark over time? Sure. And that's where the conversation we're going to get into. It frustrates me that you've got one first party that consistently insults its fans. $70 up in the price. We're going to do this.
Oh, okay. You're talking about I was like, which one are you talking about?
PlayStation.
Yeah.
But delivers top tier exclusives. And then you've got another one that's trying to do everything possible to please fans, but is missing the mark on those 90 pluses for their hardcore audience. And that's not to say that Pentiment, it's not to say that Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I don't think that's the same audience we're talking about.
Right.
Am I ranting or am I making sense?
Yeah, no, you're ranting a bit. You sound a little crazy. Nobody in the chat likes you, neither do we. So that's fair. No, I mean, like, I think the one thing that I can echo from you, well, you called Ains bald earlier. Check back. Check back in a few months. Just saying, it's looking patchy up there.
I think that's how it catches on camera because you guys say that a lot. Nobody thinks.
I think. Well, nobody wants to hurt your feelings to your face, but I'll do it through the cam. So anyway, this episode's sponsored by Keeps. Your Luke's hair's thinning. Promo code. For hairs. What did I say? Whatever. No, the thing that I would like to say to your point there, Luke, is we're going to see what type of publisher Microsoft's going to be this year. In terms of delivery, because this is it. This is the year where they're going to start delivering on at least 5 big games this year, and you can't say the same for the competition or even the ones that are the competition like Nintendo. So you're right. I think you're going to see what Microsoft is capable of this year, and hopefully that continues into the years after. So
we've talked about this quite a bit. I know the whole gaming community has. I mean, Xbox is in it's kind of weird, right? Because Xbox is my primary platform I play on. I adore Halo, obviously, talk about that all the time. Yep. And I enjoy their IPs for whatever reason more than I do others typically. So I enjoy a lot of it, but I think that the conversation is still out to say they've got a lot of big projects in the works, and they've gotten better for sure, but I don't think anyone can sit there and tell you that they are 100% confident that Xbox is going to deliver. And I hate using meta scores, but just to go along with your point here, Luke, like 90 plus meta games consistently. Yeah. I want them to. I'm more confident than I would have been 2 years ago in them doing that, but I don't think anyone can realistically, unless they're completely out here, say, yeah, Xbox will absolutely do that. No, I think the jury's still out. So I do think I want to ask you guys, because I don't think we've done this yet. Let's go ahead and put our torches in the ground right now. What's Starfield going to land at?
88.
Yeah,
that's
high 80s.
You said it earlier. High 80s, yes. 88.
No, you got to pick a number. Exact number. So Luke's going 88. Chat, you can join us on this too. We'll save this. I'll clip this out.
I confidently feel 88.
Yeah, I mean, can I just do a quick open critic? Because I know Fallout was a 89, which okay, but let's see.
Well, they haven't released a single player game like this since Skyrim, which was 10 years ago. 12 years ago.
Pixel says 69.
Wow.
What? Come on, Pixel, you're joking. No,
it's going to be in the 80s. So I would say 86.
86, 88. Okay, I'll be the high one then. I'm going to say 91.
Yeah, I think
91. That's... Now, where did Ragnarok and God of War? They were like 96 and 7?
94.
94, okay. And Elden Ring was 96.
6.
Elden Ring was 96. Ooh, near 91. So you think you're bumping into Ragnarok, Elden Ring territory with Starfield? Despite not having seen it right now.
Elden Ring, I think is tough, but I think that here's where my mind is going, and I could be certainly wrong. Right? Is
92?
I think 91 because I think that it's going to do enough that is so expansive and so broad in what it achieves that the probably little bugs, we're going to have them. It's Bethesda. The little bugs, the little glitches that you get here and there, those types of things, I think it'll do so much more over here that it'll make people ignore the minor stuff.
And the fact that they got to focus on one platform or two platforms now.
It's next gen only. They're getting extra delays in time. I think it's going to hit.
Do you think it's Microsoft saying you need those delays, fix the bugs? Or do you think it's Bethesda just saying, well, we can focus on these platforms? Like, who do you think's quality controlling now?
I think, honestly, I don't know, obviously, but I think it's probably a joint conversation. I think that there's a couple things that factor in that, Game Pass being one of them, to say that you're not missing this holiday sales window of November 22, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas I think if they were still their own publisher and still having to meet sales targets, that might have changed that conversation. Whereas now I think they have the leeway to say, hey, you've got broader support here. Game Pass means you're going to get 20 plus million people at launch, if not more, who knows? We'll support you with additional promotions. Take the time to make sure we do this right. That's my thought.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I hope I hope it's the greatest game ever gosh dang made. But I don't like Fallout that much. And seeing the shooting, it was very reminiscent of Fallout. So to me, I'm more interested of how combat's going to look like. So once I see more combat, oh no, let's not disrespect Destiny. Once I see combat from that game and how that's going to look like and the systems that are in place, then I could get reasonably excited. But the overview that I saw from last year's Xbox showcase had me going, this looks not great. And Redfall looks totally up my alley. So to me, I'm
well, that's personal preference, though.
Personal preference, yeah. And at the end of the day, like, one of my favorite games is Ghost of Tsushima. It's rated at 82 or something on Metacritic. So like, I don't really give too much of a crap about what.
Yeah, it's a little high, but yeah.
All right, relax, Ains.
We've got a bunch of numbers in here. So Pixel, I can't tell if you're serious with the 69 or not. I hope not. But we've got
69.
We've got everything from 80 to I think 92 is the highest in our chat. Logan and someone else, Fishstring, I believe, and Suddy said 92 as well.
Wow, Suddy. Hey, Suddy.
Yes. Yeah, Suddy's hanging out with us.
I hope in time people are more like reserved like me, where I'm just like, I'm just hoping it's good. I'm skeptical, and that means like when the game comes out, it'll blow my socks off. Like that's what I'm really hoping here. I have
me too.
Level-headed like I think it's gonna be great, but I'm not thinking that this is 90s are harder to hit nowadays.
They are absolutely are. I would remind you, and someone else, I think Lair just said it too, because I was looking it up while we were talking. Cyberpunk's at an 87.
Remember, appropriately so if you're judging on launch.
No,
I don't want to. I'm not trying to be a dick.
No, that's what I mean. Despite all the issues it had at launch, it's an 87, right? And there were many outlets, including us, that rated it a 9 or higher. So I just think that the scope of Starfield is so broad and it's so different. Think of any game. What other game is like Starfield that's releasing anytime soon?
I don't know what Starfield is, brother. I'm not being.
Again, dude, we've had a 30-minute prepresentation on the game. Why do you keep saying you don't know what it is?
Because I don't know what it is. Like,
did you watch the presentation?
Yes, it's been since
that was not a confident yes. That was a lying yes.
No, it's not. It's just I didn't retain it. Like I watched it. I don't have it with me. I'm not lying, but I'm not keeping it in my brain. I didn't keep it with me. I had no reason to lie to you.
If I had an X, I'd be pushing it right now.
I get nothing from lying here. I'm saying it didn't stick with. I remember No Man's Sky comparisons that were exhausting at the time.
Yes.
I remember seeing really cool space combat, but you couldn't. I don't think you could transition from one to the other. You know what?
Say he didn't watch. He don't know what he's talking about. He don't know what he's talking about.
But I don't remember much, so it's no point in me trying to like articulate it because I don't remember much.
Fine.
Go ahead, Joe.
Hi. Hi, Joseph Perfume here. I do also just want to put out the caveat of Cyberpunk was re-reviewed. So when it came out at launch, for example, on OpenCritic, it sits at a 76, and it shows, both reviews from IGN. One, the re-review, I assume being 9, and the original review looks like being a 4. So in and that's what I see from OpenCritic. Everybody, calm down. I just platinumed Cyberpunk. I think
I'm just
amazing.
laughing. Like, how do you go? Like, they fixed some bugs, went from a 4 to a 9. Like, what?
Listen.
Travis would say they made it playable.
Exactly. The ghost of Travis echoed in our ear. They made it playable. So like, put that into account. Now, that being said, though, it echoes what I was saying earlier. That is, this is going to be on less platforms, which means it's going to be way more optimized. So I think the strength that Starfield has is that it doesn't have to worry about the PlayStation or whatever else have you. All it has to do is focus on the Xbox Series and PC. And so that's why I think, they're trying to make this thing. I think they're going to try their hardest to say, what we're known for? Making really great narrative RPGs while also being a little charmingly like bug ridden, where we're going to get the bugs out of here and you're just going to see how amazing this thing can be, because I think Xbox does want this to be the Ragnarok moment of like, listen, PlayStation games, you love them or hate them, internet, whatever. They're a moment. Microsoft wants Starfield to be their moment of
agree.
They need a moment.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking.
I think MG's comment in the chat is the best one we've had yet. He said, I reckon 85 at launch and 97 in a few years.
Exactly.
That's probably really accurate. But the funny thing too, remember on PC, right? One of the big parts of the reason Skyrim's so big and Elder Scrolls and Fallout is modding community. There are huge. I think people underestimate just how big the Bethesda PC community is. It is gigantic. And this game is going to make waves at release. Let's hope they're good ones.
Yeah. That being said, there's some bad waves happening right now. This is a segue. Yeah. Again, 10,000 people lost their jobs yesterday. Sucks. A lot of moving around and readjusting at Microsoft. And that means a lot of folks from Bethesda, from Xbox proper 343, it looks like hit really bad with layoffs, mass firings, all that, etc. Again, human moment here. People lost their jobs. Let's be civil. Let's be respectful. We could talk about this, but we don't have to be like, well, Sony hasn't fired anybody yet, type of malarkey.
Yeah, that's a dumb thing to say.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but if someone says that, that's a cruel and stupid
Coalition
thing to say.
too, thank you. Yeah.
Coalition, Riot Games laid people off. Sony did years ago. This is not exclusive to any ecosystem, right? This is just a part of corporate America, pretty much.
Yeah. So, Ains, you're part of the system, and I shouted you out on the trophy room
did you?
This week. Yeah. Well, when Easier Malt gave his reply, I said that was a very Ainsley Bowden way of how he approaches his interns.
His interns.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, Ains.
You said it.
Ains, you work in the corporate sector. You know more than us. Talk us through it, because we're all big sad right now. What's happening, man? I'm scared.
Well, yeah. So real quick, because I don't want to let the super chat sit too long. So we did get a super chat before I jump into that.
That's cool.
Yeah, from Mr. Tao. What's up, brother? $5 super chat from Tao says, Cast Co-op is back. Let's go. More innuendo making Luke turn beet red, and hit that like button. Thank you, Tao. Tao's always a big supporter of the channel. Thank you very much.
So great.
Appreciate you, brother. And we always like turning Luke red. Come on.
That's right.
It's part of the show.
It's not hard to do on camera, that's for sure.
Nope. It's not hard to make his mother turn red too. Oh,
woo, hey now. So I think there's I don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know where to start here. Let's start with just the overall thing, right? So if you look back at Microsoft, sadly, this is happening not just in the tech sector. It's kind of happening all over. Amazon let 18,000 jobs go. Microsoft's 10,000. Riot Games announced some layoffs. There's the gaming journalism, which you commented on. There's a lot going on right now for companies. It's generally speaking, on a large scale, it has to do with some things around the pandemic and COVID, and you had this shift to work from home, and you had these hiring ups as we try to figure out how to service. A lot of companies figure out how to service and work from home and be virtual globally, and then you've got kind of what they would call not scaling back. There's a better word for it that I don't want to talk in work speak right now, but basically, they're kind of self-correcting, right? The attrition, I guess, is one word you could use. So it's a shame, and I don't really know what to say about it. You look at Microsoft, and they've grown exponentially over the past decade or so, right? They've gone up like 100,000 employees or something. So sadly, this is that type of correction that happens, every once in a while in big companies like this. And the number 10,000 sounds like a massive number of people, and it is. It's less than 5% of their staff. That's just how big Microsoft is. It's just what happens. Global corporation, man, one of the biggest in the world. So it sucks. I hope that, anyone impacted obviously finds work that they enjoy and can land on their feet. And, I wish everyone the best.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was worried about, and I'm happy to tell the chat this, is that we've got an argument coming between us about Halo, and I didn't want to have
an
our argument.
It's
an argument about Halo, and I didn't want.
I did start it, by the way. I did start it at maybe a little guilty, but half happy it's happened.
But it's an argument that is a discussion, a debate. It's an argument that I didn't want to have. And it seemed as though we were piling on. That was my fear.
Right.
It is my fear.
What was piling on? I'm sorry.
Well, we had awful news today and this week about people losing their jobs, their careers, their livelihoods, people that worked specifically on Halo, the game that we're going to debate its state of right now. And I didn't want it to seem like piling on. That's the fear that I have. In having this argument.
But you guys didn't mind piling on me in DMs, huh? They were really mean to me.
You are a hardcore fan, and I can't get it because I have Master Chief everywhere. I love Halo, but you will defend this game, Ains, until you are red in the forehead and the top, and it's just boggles my mind. I don't get it. I want you to be more critical of their failings.
But we have been critical. So as we get into this conversation, right, I want to make sure one thing, which is I want to make sure we're not rehashing all the crap we've already talked about on 10 different cast co-ops, because we have talked about this at length, and we've talked about their live service delivery in year one. We've talked about how they weren't properly prepared for that, their failures in that, why I thought at the time we last discussed it, which might have been before the winter update, I believe, with Forge coming. We said, they're ramping up. They've got the roadmap for this year, season 3 coming in March, and season 4 is already mapped out, and HCS year 2. So we've already talked about all that stuff. I'm happy to continue talking about it, but I wanted to touch on, of course, the things that relating to the job and what's actually happening behind the scenes at 343.
Now, before we get into it, there's one thing that I'd like to touch on here. I've never run a business in my life. I applied for an LLC last year. It was really stressful. Why would you
apply for an LLC?
That's right. That's right. Tax break. Paid for this chair. All right. Humble brag.
Okay.
Why buy Activision Blizzard when you're laying off 10,000 people just to hire another 10,000?
I saw that argument, and even high follower journalists making that comment, and it's like those two things are so separate. It's a ridiculous statement, in my opinion. It's the restructuring, right, and the way they probably went through all of their divisions and did, these examinations take a lot of time. This is not something that Microsoft decided they were going to do 2 weeks ago, right? There's a lot that goes into this, and especially at a company that large. And let's keep in mind the 10,000 people that they are restructuring, only a small percentage of those are gaming related, right?
Sure.
As a company. The ones that are gaming related, we're going to talk a little more about here in a moment. But the investment, what likely happened is that when the board at Microsoft, so Nadella and the 16 kind of inner circle people, which now includes Phil Spencer, they likely looked across where their investments need to be made, and they'll usually do so anywhere from a 3 to 5 to 10 year plan. And as we know, and they've already said clearly, their investment, one of their core investments, cloud is their main focus. Make no mistake about it, cloud computing. But
Kojima
gaming is one of their bigger investments. And so it's not like you just say, we're getting rid of 10,000 people so we can hire Activision over here. That's not how that works. The two are not, they're completely separate things, right? They're restructuring various divisions of a massive corporation to be more efficient, probably more cost productive, blah, 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 all the words they'll use over here. And then they're investing in other spaces. They're still hiring. They've had a hiring freeze in different parts, but certain divisions are still hiring. And then over here is the investment into the gaming segment, which is Activision and Blizzard.
Hi. Okay, that sounds all great. That sounds real dandy.
You did a good job, Ains. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, though?
Yes.
Not one bit, because I'm going to say one thing. Phil Spencer said, like a year or two ago, we're not laying off anybody in Bethesda. In fact, we're hiring people. Well, what say you now? This is going to happen when they buy Activision Blizzard, don't you think? They're just going to fire
it is going to happen when they
there will absolutely be some realignment. 100%.
You have to do that. Now
you have to.
Oh, jeez.
Can I tell you my very amateur side thought is,
please,
having just finished Callisto Protocol, enjoying it. I hope that some of these people that are like Maverick Studios peel off of former Forza Horizon Playground.
Yeah.
I hope that a silver lining to this is that those people are able to land on their feet and make things they want to make.
Yep.
Yes.
My hope also is that in making the things they want to make, scope and perspective accompany them. Because as I played Callisto, which is gorgeous, gorgeous, it oozes atmosphere, whatnot. I hated that I happened to be playing it around the same time the articles of 5 million were expected to be sold. It's like, what are you talking about? New IP, 5 million?
Yeah.
How much did you spend on marketing? Like, make the game. Let the game be the game. You could have just said Glenn Schofield, Callisto Protocol, makers of Dead Space, looks like Dead Space. Go. And you'd have had a clear 2+ million. Celebrate that. Champagne bottles. But when you spend all that on marketing and you expect 5 million, it's like, whoa, calm it down, Square Enix. Square Enix didn't make it, but remember they used to do that to Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider's going to sell 11 million. What? I hope that whoever they peel off, they keep scope in mind and they're able to make what they want to make.
Also, just FYI, my sinuses right when we started this podcast are like, we're gonna make you want to sneeze for the next hour. But no, I think that also goes back into like the Ubisoft kind of talk. It's like, okay, you're pouring a whole lot of money. Are your expectations in the right place? Because horror is a niche thing on itself. In a horror game, that's expecting a lot, even out of a new IP. But to go back into what Ains was saying, it's like this unfortunate reality of the situation where it's like you don't want anybody to lose their jobs. Like I've been there. It happened to me last year. It is devastating for someone, and I had something to fall back on. Right? Some people have mortgages they got to pay for, and luckily I don't fall into that category. So I was a little bit in luck there. And kids, right? And student loans. So like, to me, it's there's the human element that I feel so much for, but then there is that side where Ains just said, where it's just, fortunately, it is just business. It's the way.
I hate that phrase, but it's the truth.
And it, right, because it's kind of like inhumane in a way. It's like you're taking away someone's livelihood, but the reality of the matter is HoloLens wasn't cutting it, right? some of those people or some of those positions were redundant. And as much as I'd love people to always be working and doing what they love, if the position is redundant, that company's losing money. And they are a $1 trillion company for $2 trillion, whatever the dumb number is.
It's up and down.
Yeah, it's up and down. $2 trillion company today, for a reason. So it's just awful. My heart goes out to those affected, and it's just the shitty reality of things. Is sometimes we're in this economic upturn and everything's going great for a few years, and then everything doesn't go great, and then the market has to readjust to it. And then it's back to being awesome, and then it's back to being crap. So it's the cycle, and unfortunately, we're in the down part of one of those cycles, it seems.
Well, and the tech sector is the nice thing about it is it's so dynamic, and there's new opportunities, and there's things that can suddenly explode and become big. But the reverse is true too. The tech sector is also more volatile is probably the right word, where working in the tech sector, especially in divisions within bigger companies that are more experimental, like a HoloLens, like we saw at Meta earlier this year, or not earlier this year, it's January 19th, but late last year, where they let off a bunch of people. It's just it's part of the business. And I'm not saying, again, respecting anyone who gets into it. It's amazing, and I wish everyone the best, but it's just a reality of the business model. It's a reality of it. And you can be in there's business corporations and businesses that are in industries that are much more stable. And if stability is your number one priority over, say, pay or location or anything else, these are personal choices you make. And it should just be known that if you're in a experimental division or something that's more kind of future facing in the tech sector, which is already volatile, these things happen. I've talked to a lot of people across these industries, and it's not, some come as a surprise, but some come as I should have known this could have happened, so it's never a happy thing. It's not a nice thing, but to your point, the nice thing, and Hogue speaks about this very well. Shout out to Hogue, by the way, recovering, going strong.
Nice. Seemingly doing better, right? Because I saw you actually put out stuff.
Yeah, he's ahead of his targets, and I've been talking to Mrs. Hogue every day, and he's doing well. So we'll keep on the upswing, hopefully. But he speaks about this well, which is the dynamism of the gaming industry. Like Luke mentioned with Maverick Games, right? Playground Games has seen a lot of success in the past several years with Forza Horizon, fantastic IP and franchise. They've done an excellent job. Some of the leadership there says, okay, we want to go try something new. We've been successful. Let's go do it. And I wish them the best of luck, right? Yeah. And we saw teams from two different studios have been set up from CD Projekt Red developers after the success of Witcher 3. And whether you like it or not, the financial success of Cyberpunk, not necessarily for the stock for CD Projekt Red, that's a different conversation. But, they set up, there's two other new studios that have been set up. And so the video game industry is one of those industries that's very on the higher end of dynamic and kind of rebuilds itself constantly. So I just hope that a lot of these talented people, it's a long-winded way to say, I hope a lot of these talented people end up in positions they really love, doing, utilizing their skills and hopefully building something great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Luke, are you ready to have this argument, this fight? I know we've gone long, guys, but I Halo, have at it.
I don't have a lot to say other than Luke's stupid.
Oh my!
No, here's what I said. In all seriousness, I came to these guys yesterday. It's an argument.
It's an argument. It is an argument.
I think he just wants to have an argument. So I started to tell these guys.
Dad fight.
So I'm very close in Halo. I do have a bunch of contacts that I talk to, like a kind of community that talks about what's going on 343, what's coming in the future, leaks, etc. And over time, of course, there's trusted sources and there are not trusted sources. So got a pretty good community set up for me right now where I kind of have a little bit of inside information on what's going on within 343 and what's planned for content releases. And so if you don't follow a few different people like Bathrobe Spartan on Twitter, I would suggest it. It's a group of people, and they put out a thread today, which I had already talked to them about. I talked to some other people about, and I retweeted it today with my own commentary. But basically, what we knew was happening a few days ago, or started to get wind of, is that the shift that we saw months ago, which we've discussed about Bonnie Ross leaving, right? Pierre Hintz coming in as the new studio head, but Bonnie's position being broken up into 3 parts. And you have to forgive me, I don't know the other 2 names off the top of my head. I should. But basically, that was not the end. That was not the correction of 343 in the sense of now they have a new studio head, Infinite will continue as planned. That's not what happened. That was the beginning of the restructuring. And so we learned so basically that
because of family issues.
Nothing more has been said about that specifically.
Ains froze on that one. You threw him for a loop because that was a big thing about Bonnie, right?
It was a big question. Yeah. I mean, reading between the lines, guys, there's more going on, right?
Yeah, you would think. No, Joe, you mean like we're talking like serious personal stuff is probably happening. Is that what you mean, or do you mean like read between the lines?
I'm sorry, I was being sarcastic. The New Jersey tone kind of goes through it because that was the excuse. Is like, oh, personal thing. I'm stepping out for a sec.
Is there actually personal stuff? Is what
there is actually personal stuff.
Oh, is there actual personal? Okay, then I'm a piece of shit. Don't worry about it. Continue.
No, but I think I think
fair question to ask.
Yeah.
In this space, fair question.
But anyway, I think we've of course learned since, and I think we always kind of said where there's smoke, there's fire to some degree, right? And what we've learned is that there were problems with leadership, there were problems with direction. We've heard some horror stories now of X343 contractors and employees giving more details around, this was kind of a shit show from leadership to a degree, right? Mm-hmm. So what it seems like is happening, as much as information as I can share and that I know to be reliable, is that this new 3-tiered head at 343 is the beginning of a complete rethink of how Xbox manages the Halo IP and what it looks like they're doing. So we learned yesterday that some of the art team was let go, along with various other people from the single player and campaign side. And we learned about 4 to 6 months ago that the campaign expansion that was originally in the plans for Halo Infinite, tentatively titled The Endless, was canceled. That was shelved.
Oh, okay. That sucks.
It was canceled, and the resources were allocated to live service to support Halo Infinite's multiplayer. So as all the complaints kind of flooded in, right, about live service delivery, which we've discussed, their immediate shift was to say, we need more people on delivery of multiplayer components. Boom, here you go, start working on it. That's why we got the winter update. That's why we got the custom games browser early. That's why season 3 starts the new cadence of 2.5 month delivery. All the things that we expected, right? Okay. But what that means is, from what I understand, I keep caveating, I realize what that means is that they're looking at Halo as an IP that has potential well beyond a single studio, and that it is too big of an IP to be managed by 343 directly. So what they're going to do is the plans for Halo Infinite's multiplayer are continuing as planned. All those resources are still there, season 3, 4, etc., ongoing. From what I know about Tatanka, the Battle Royale by Certain Affinity, that has integration with Infinite and the multiplayer, right? So I foresee that coming as kind of a combined product eventually, kind of similar to what Warzone is to Modern Warfare 2, right? There's crossover there.
Can you share? I don't know. I don't want to speak for you. The part that made me so frustrated about what you said about Tatanka was the timeline. Are you able to talk about that?
I can only talk about what I know, which I think you saw yesterday, right? So they have, what I understand is they've been working on it for over 2 years. Certain Affinity has. There's approximately 40 to 60 people at CA working on it with 343. 343 is included, right? Like there's allocation there. Sure. no timeline. The original timeline that I heard for this was that Tatanka was going to kind of begin with season 4 of Halo Infinite, which would have landed it sometime this summer. Whether or not that's still the timeline, I have not been able to verify.
Okay.
It boggles my mind how slow it is that we are getting, how slow everything is with Halo Infinite. I think it had a fantastic launch. I love Halo Infinite. I would put it as my second or third best Halo. Second or third. I don't know.
Story-wise? Or
overall,
just like overall package?
Overall. Which is a hard thing for me to say because it's like, you don't have PvE, hugely important to me. You don't have an ongoing live service element that is improving at a rate that I think is acceptable in a world of Apex, in a world of Fortnite, in a world of Call of Duty and Destiny and so many others that are doing it.
Yeah.
But I love Halo, and Infinite is fantastic. The gameplay is bar none the best of any Halo. I don't care. I'm not a competitive player. I think it's the best of any Halo.
It is.
I think the single player or the campaign, I should say, is some of the coolest Halo around. I don't buy the whole it doesn't have different biomes part because you go into different parts of the levels. I do buy that it's not diverse enough, but I am just so frustrated at the inability to consistently deliver content, and the limited time modes are neat, but unoriginal. And
Okay.
This most recent one, I'm not a fan of at all. I hated Joint Ops. But
it's just a little free event. I mean, it's not like a major release.
Sure. But when I look at what they have got, it makes me wonder, like, you've got all this 2 or 3 pieces and you've got more. You've got elements that already exist. Like, you look at certain game modes and you've got the map closing in on itself. You've got orbital drops of weapons. You've got the ability to send in more tanks more often, wasps more often, bigger, like, to make it more BTB. Why is it not happening? How many BTB maps do we have? Not enough. Like, what, 3?
4.
4? Is it 4?
It's
to
4.
me, that's not enough. And it's just, it's a frustration point. That I think
I'm not. That's all stuff I'm not disagreeing. That's all stuff we talked about before.
And that's where I think our frustration is. And I think, a lot of people calling out like this is a failure of leadership over at 343 of like, you have a amazing foundation that you've done nothing with this past year. And I think
I think the word nothing there isn't fair at all, but
talk us through why nothing, because it was so nothing is probably too strong.
Fine.
But I don't think Joe means nothing in the sense of like not at all.
Sure. They haven't done enough. I think we all agree. We've again, I don't want to rehash the shit we've talked about 10 times.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Okay. Wow, I was expecting a fight, and this is just becoming a little bit more so.
No, because we're going long. I want to talk factual, right, and share what I know. Whether you think it's good or bad is, we can all debate. I mean, the facts are facts as usual. So anyway, it seems like all of the resources at 343 that are a developer perspective. Don't forget, right? 343 are purveyors of the IP. So they have comics, they have the TV show, they have merchandise, they have Halo gear, they have HCS year 2, right? There's all these employees that work on different aspects of Halo. So from what I understand is happening is that 343 will still continue to be the owners and purveyors of the Halo IP as we know it. Infinite live service will continue and at an accelerated rate, which we're seeing, thankfully, as we all agree, right? HCS year 2 looks great, hopefully that grows, et cetera, et cetera. Tatanka, I've already said everything we know. It's really kept under wraps.
Do we know when that might launch?
No, like I said, the original plan from last year was season 4, which would have landed about this summer, but no one that I've talked to anyway knows anything more than that right now.
This summer, it can't last. Yeah,
but the biggest change and shift, and the reason I believe that you saw some of the art team get let go, which is disappointing, and some of these other positions get let go that aren't tied to live service, is that Xbox is going to move development of core Halo games and single player campaigns to other studios.
Other studios like id? What does that mean?
Yeah.
No defined thing. I think. Damn it, guys!
What? I'm just you made a point. I just wanted to expound. So is this kind of like a Lucas Ranch type of thing? It's like, hey, come on down to the ranch. What's your idea for Halo? And then make that Halo thing.
I would cover these answers if you let me finish what I'm saying.
All right, I'm sorry.
It's a lot to unpack, Ains, okay?
It is a lot to unpack, so let me unpack it because I got a big ass suitcase over here.
Red. This is. I feel like one of his interns right now. Sorry, I didn't get your coffee.
Sorry, Eves. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You should be sorry. It wasn't hot enough. God damn it.
Mr. Gilmore's talking.
So we don't know studios. I don't know the resources. The saddest news about this, right, that I can take away is that the Endless expansion was canceled and that they're in pre-production on what the next Halo game is. Pre-production scares me, right? Because that means we're a long way out. So, Luke, I don't know what you. All right, I'll come back to that. It's so frustrating. Like yesterday, Joe. Big Matt, drop them in. Why is this hard?
It is frustrating.
Because you launched a campaign that wasn't done.
How wasn't it done?
There are whole parts of that map that you can walk by, see that the door was supposed to be a thing, and it's like, oh, there's nothing there. And there are story bits, including the Endless, that they were supposed to be an ongoing story. Infinite was to be the platform. And it's in pre-production? That's not good enough. I love the restructure. It's late. I love that we're trying to fix things. It's late. That's where you're seeing my frustration. It's so late. How is it in pre-production when you've got a campaign that good? Go ahead, Joe.
So the frustration may be for what we got from Luke is how have we accomplished so little in a year that has been, out of what was so strong out of the gate.
I don't know what you guys, honestly, and I don't say this sarcastically, right?
Yeah.
On a AAA game development perspective, where a company is going through restructuring, I don't think you guys understand what a year means. It's literally nothing. It's seconds.
I understand that. Okay, so great, fair point. Counterpoint is, I understand that in a year's time, I've seen live service shooters, Call of Duty, Apex, Destiny, Fortnite, even Battlefield,
who have no campaigns or single player content. Yes.
Call of Duty just launched with a campaign.
Call of Duty has 8 studios.
Expansions. Doesn't matter. It's an IP that's competing with it in its platform. It doesn't matter how many studios or not. That's you're comparing two different things here. Okay, I'm saying
you're comparing two different things.
No,
you just said Apex and Fortnite, Joe or Luke.
Yes, if I'm the player who picks up these games and I'm getting consistent content to these places, that matters.
How is the content that Apex and Fortnite have delivered in the last year comparable to a campaign expansion?
Fortnite has an ongoing story that can be explored if you want it to. Consistent map updates that go. Don't shake your head. It does.
This is unbelievable. You see what I deal with?
No, don't give me that. It consistently cycles in and out weapons. It consistently changes its own map. Provides you different characters with which to play. Can't even get
provides you different characters. What, they use a skin from an IP they bought? You consider that the same as a campaign expansion? Are you out of your mind?
No, I'm comparing the amount of content that it's brought to its players. It's not. What are you baffled about? That's what I don't get. When you look at the amount of content that these communities and these developers have brought to their gamers, the people that are spending time.
Your goalposts are all over the place here. We're talking about a direct comparison of what Fortnite and Apex you're saying have delivered since last year.
They are platforms.
While complaining,
was meant to be.
While complaining about the lack of campaign progress in Halo Infinite, those two things are not comparable.
What's comparable? Okay, I see where you're hung up. What's comparable is that Infinite was meant to be a platform. It's meant to be a platform. Am I correct on that? Infinite.
It was 5 years ago in design. Yes. That was the original plan for Halo Infinite. Yes.
They were saying that as recent as 2 years ago. Am I wrong? I'm asking. I'm not critiquing. I'm asking.
Before original plan launch in 2020, that's what they were saying. Yes.
2 years. 3 years. Okay. You know what? We just did 2023. There you go. So when I look at what Halo Infinite is meant to deliver to its community, and I compare it to what others in its space are doing, it doesn't do enough. Fortnite serves its fan base. Call of Duty serves its fan base. I'm not arguing that studios. That doesn't
No one
matter.
ever argued that, Luke. No one ever argued that. You transitioned to Apex and Fortnite while we were talking about campaign development progress.
And
we're
this is
only
where
in
I'll
pre-production on.
Mom, Dad, knock it off. All right, this is the part where the kid stands up and goes, I have something to say too, damn it.
And you're grounded.
And you bought meatloaf. No,
you were a mistake. We wish you hadn't had you. This is your fault.
Damn. Yeah, I wasn't planned. Anyway, so I think what Luke is trying to get at is let's push away like single player stuff for a second here. And I think my complaint is like multiplayer stuff. That hasn't been sufficient when we look at something like a Fortnite,
as we've talked about countless times already.
I think that's where my main point of like contention is. It's just like, yeah, say what you want about Fortnite. They literally just changed their map, they changed how their guns shoot, and they changed upgraded their engine. Right. So like they've done a lot this year and they delivered a lot to their fans. And
and it's 7 years post-launch. So good on them.
I mean, congratulations. But even when they were building up to something, there was content every couple of months from them. It wasn't this wait and see. As someone who has been there, because a lot of people are like, it's not a 1-to-1 because like Fortnite had time to ramp up bullshit. I've been there since day one. I've been there since day one Battle Pass. And I could tell you, they kept on updating it and listening to the feedback month after month, where it feels like for Halo, it's been a year. And I feel like they just maybe, tuned the plasma rifle. That's where my frustration is. It's like, Halo, you're made by 343. You are backed by Microsoft that has more money than God. How did we not get this right? How do we have one battle pass and a free one because we feel bad that is half-assed?
It's three battle passes, but keep going.
3 battle passes, but they're not a full
update. What's the other one?
But they're not full battle passes, first and foremost. They're not.
There's 2 full ones. Okay, and then there's the free winter update. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Free winter update. That's garbage. So like, it's just not enough content, and I feel like that.
No one is arguing that. Why do we keep circling back to the same conversation?
I don't know why. I don't know why you like to hit us.
Because it's all you guys have.
But that's our frustration. And when we had our DMs,
what
it felt like.
I'm waiting to hear about Fortnite's campaign. I'm excited.
Well, listen, they got The Rock and Brie Larson.
Yeah, they got a skin, man. It's content.
Yeah. Listen, he has a line and he's in his Iron Paradise. How dare you?
The point with the campaign, okay, because I realized the wording that threw you off. It's not about single player, Ains. It's not even about story. It's about consistently
that's the topic we were on.
It's about consistently delivering on your premise. And in premise, it's very clear when you play through Infinite's campaign that there was stuff cut, which happens to every studio and every story, sure. But that they were leaving things to be told over time in a delivery of content. Infinite was meant to be a platform of sorts. Argue that. I was expecting, thinking, seeing, like, remember the Wolves update? I forget which one it was, where you started to get a little bit of story with the Wolves. Ainsley Bowden. Did he mute me?
It's Battle Pass 1, Lone Wolves.
Yeah, Lone Wolves. They started something. They started a story there. Where is it? Where'd it go? What we got?
What are you asking?
There's nothing more. They've not elaborated. There's no added to. There's nothing there.
Oh, they continued that in season 2. In Battle Pass 2. They did.
That's almost nothing. Is what I'm saying.
It's not good.
Yeah,
it's not good. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so and I'm not trying to beat the consistent dead horse. What I'm trying to say is that they don't deliver on those moments. I will be desperate for Halo Infinite PvE because to me that's so much fun to play Halo. But I'm playing the same maps. Sometimes I get in there on those stupid. What's the one where you have to grab the charge points? You have to like grab the.
Oh god, I hate
stock. Yeah, total control or stockpile.
Stockpile. Okay. God, if it's a stockpile, I'm playing Slayer, right?
Yeah.
It's just frustrating. I want more from this game that I freaking love. I want more from this franchise that means so much to me.
And that's fair. But now you've redirected the conversation to what you personally want. And I think that you touch on something interesting there, right? Because what struck me in the DMs yesterday when we were going back and forth about this, right, is Joe's like, well, first, Joe, you got it wrong on what they've actually delivered. They delivered more than you guys are giving credit for. Not enough. I'm not saying it's enough, but they have delivered more than you guys are giving them credit for. Hold on. And then what Joe goes, I want more big team battle maps and modes. And then Luke says, PvE is what matters to me. That's what I want. And this leads me into a conversation of the expectations of Halo. I think the expectations of Halo are so vast that it's kind of mind-boggling. Because if you deliver an open world single player campaign, your opinion on it, whatever, up, down, what have you, right? And you deliver the live service multiplayer and a pro league, right? HCS, right? Then someone like Luke says, yeah, but where's Warzone? Where's my firefight? And then they say, which is coming, by the way, they're adding PvE scripting to Forge. So you'll be able basically firefight and modes like it, Warzone, will exist as to be created in Forge in the future. That's what's coming. But then someone says, okay, that's great. You got Forge now and you've got Firefight, but where's my big team battle maps? And they say, well, we got more maps coming. Okay, but I want the battle pass change. And it's like the expectations for.
But they set this. I'm sorry.
No, they've set those precedents over 20 fucking years, over 7 titles. What other? Hold on. Answer this question for me. What other game releases and has to have every single thing that every release for that IP has had in the past, plus more? Tell me one game.
Modern Warfare 2 did launch with DMV.
It had no ranked mode. It has no custom. It has no stats or tracking. It was missing a load of stuff, and it is bitched about constantly by the Call of Duty community if you paid attention to it.
Good, fair, but I would say Call
Go
of Duty
ahead, give me one.
Quite a bit.
I'll wait.
No, I love that you're standing this so hard. They set these precedents over 7 games. They didn't get it right.
No. Again, you're saying they set precedents, and you're saying now that you delivered this 15 years ago, you have to do it again forever till the end of time. That's what you're saying. No, you just said that.
No, I didn't say any of those words. I said none of those words.
All this fighting for what?
Here's the funny thing too, Luke. No, but listen. A precedent of what? Finish your sentence. I want to hear the end of this one.
Sure. They set a precedent of PvE. They set a precedent of multiplayer.
You realize that the majority of the Halo releases don't have PvE, right?
Now, when we had the
do you realize that?
Oh, did you have me talk on this one? When we launched,
you can't answer it. That's why
we absolutely loved. We had amazing bot matches.
I can answer it. I can answer it, but neither of you guys can let me talk.
We can't even play bot matches right now. We can't even play bot matches.
Why can you not play bot matches?
Is there a playlist where me and my buddies can go in and have a rotating steady multiplayer bot match list?
Yeah. Yes.
No, it's in customs. You have to make it.
No. It was delisted for like a month, but it's been back for months.
Where? Because if I'm ignorant to this, I want to know, because
you're ignorant to a lot of things, but this is just one of them.
Right now.
Jesus Christ, James. Where is that at? Under multiplayer.
Yes.
I never once have seen versus bots.
Can I get tagged in for a goddamn second? You two just
No, but hold on. See, this is just 1 second, Joe, because this is the thing I'm talking about where goalposts just fly everywhere. You started the sentiment by saying they set a precedent where I could do this, and now we're talking about a botless playlist. You never even finished your effing statement.
That's not true at all. What are you talking about?
What is the precedent?
They have set precedents for PvE, for campaign, and for competitive multiplayer. They have set those precedents. That's what I said.
So your argument is that it has to have all three of those things, or it's a failure.
No. What? Where did I say it was a failure? It's not good enough in live service. That's what I've said.
Right, Jaco?
It's not what I've said. I've never once said it was a failure.
Playing in my corner.
I don't get where you're coming from on that. Like, I didn't say it was a failure.
No,
I freaking
but
love the game.
You argued that Infinite didn't have PvE, which is what appeals to you, and that it should because a precedent was set previously.
It exists very much that they could do that. Yes, they've set that precedent.
Whoa, that's a very strange sentence. It exists very much that they could do that.
We had bot matches in flights, Ains.
There's bot matches in there right now. Luke, go play the damn game.
I've played. All right, did I miss it? So, real talk, where am I missing this ability for me and my buddies to get into Fire Team and go on like a rotating playlist of bot matches? Where is that? I swear to you, if it's there, I will repent on this show. I promise you, because that's something that Suddy
Pampa just told you where it is in the chat.
Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna go turn it. I'm gonna turn on the game. Okay. I want this.
And then
go ahead, Joe.
Maybe I could talk. I think what Luke was trying to say, it was a precedent. It was more like the promise. Like when Halo Infinite, goddamn it, he's coming back. I won't be able to say my piece. Luke, you shut your goddamn beautiful mouth for just a second. Before Halo released, they sold you on this promise, right?
Your mom is very passionate about Halo.
Yeah, she's very passionate about it. But no, they gave you this promise of like this ever evolving story and this ever evolving, multiplayer that's going to tie into the single player some way.
Agree.
We're going to give you this a whole bunch of content over time, right?
Yes.
Well, and
agree.
Look, they haven't given nothing. Nothing is me being, inflammatory. So let me calm it down for a second. But it has been insufficient, and it's in a level of insufficiency that is. It makes me wonder, like, yeah, y'all, what have you guys been doing this last year? Because from what I've seen, and this is just someone who is out of the game, right? I left because there wasn't enough content, so I skipped. He's right. He hates himself.
No, that's not what I mean. No. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'll explain in chat. You talk, please talk. All
right. But when I'm talking about it, I'm like, why can't we have something, talk shit about it as you want, but like a Splatoon thing where we're having, new levels come in, levels being, switched out for something new, like just, swapped back and forth. Why don't we have more modes in Big Team Battle? There just seems to be not enough content to keep people engaged. And I think that is there is a reflection of that to how many people have left this game. Now, I will say this. If next year happens in Takonka, whatever the hell, their Battle Royale comes out, and it is something unique, fresh, interesting, and new to that franchise, and new to the Battle Royales that we haven't experienced, and breathes new life into Halo, that's great. But I don't think you could paint us wrong for being, to be skeptical on their delivery, because it hasn't been good, it hasn't been great, it hasn't been decent, it's been bad. And I think that's a failure on the management side of things. And listen, is it a one-to-one, is it a one-to-one when it comes to Fortnite or Apex or any of that? No. But we're showing you, hey, these are games that have it. And you are 343, you are Halo, you have all that stuff, right? Through your previous iterations, you know what people want from you. You're backed by a company that has more money than God. Why are we still struggling a year plus into it with promises of it's going to get better. And trust me, when it gets better, it's egg on your face. That's my point. I hope that's somewhat level-headed. Ains is typing in chat. He's typing to pump because he's the only one that agrees with him.
No. Joe, here's the thing, though. You just spent 3 minutes to say the same thing we've said over and over again. You keep circling back to the exact same statement. And that's not to take anything away from what you said, because I agree with you. And I'll keep saying I agree with you. The delivery for year one wasn't enough. I agree. I don't know how many times you have to say
bad.
it.
Just say it was bad.
It was poor. Yeah. It was poor.
It
was poor. It was poor. But they know it was poor. This isn't a surprise.
Sure.
Right? Everything that we've talked about and all the changes that I talked about and what's coming and the acceleration of content coming this year is all due to them knowing it was bad. They've literally come out on multiple live streams and said, our delivery is not good enough. It's not fast enough, and there's not enough of it. I mean, I don't know why we keep having to have the same conversation.
So when you see people exit out of roles or being switched around, and when you hear things like, "Hey, that cool sounding expansion, the door we left open where we're going to shut it for now, and we're in pre-production," doesn't Luke have the right to be a little upset and disappointed in what's been, again, promised and not executed on in the slightest? Because that's the problem. You're right.
100% he does. Yeah, 100%.
That's his dilemma. It's cute when you go, listen, I got all these, or it's nice when you say, listen, I'm hearing all these things and it sounds positive coming in this next year.
It might not even be positive, right? That's a TBD, right? Like they still have to prove, right? So one of the problems, and absolutely anyone has the right to be disappointed. I'm disappointed that I agree with you guys. The promise of Halo Infinite being the platform for the future of Halo and having a live service multiplayer over here, having campaign and expanding open world over here was beautiful. And they failed at that, clearly, right? The promise of what's to come now, based on what we know about this restructuring, sounds good in theory. Delivery, as we've talked about in other cases, right? Delivery is a whole nother matter.
Okay,
so I think it's okay to be disappointed. I think it's okay to be concerned. And I think it's okay to be worried. I think all of those things are valid.
And that's what Luke, I think, is trying to get at.
And I agree with him on that for sure.
And I can't help but not be be pessimistic on the ability of this team to shake this L off, because it's not looking good.
So big box, man. You're not talking facts, brother. You said Forza Horizon doesn't have traction. It's literally one of the top 10 best-selling games of the year, a year after release, and it's in the top 10 to 15 most played games on Xbox every single week. So
he might be referencing Ains like Mindshare. I think we talked about Mindshare before.
Mindshare doesn't matter.
Right, Mindshare doesn't matter.
But that might be what he's referring to.
Again, think about it like the Twitter echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
We could all say Xbox is dead, but like they're all right.
But you know how I asked about Gran Turismo a few weeks back?
Sure.
Exactly.
That might be what he's doing. It's not. He might not be tracking.
And that's fair. But I'm just saying, like, I think there's a couple things to just touch on, and I know we've touched on these before. So I agree with you guys. I'm disappointed that we're not going to get the endless expansion. I'm disappointed that they have fumbled drastically their plan from what was supposed to happen with Halo Infinite. And I'm pretty pissed off that there wasn't better executive level oversight of what 343 leadership was doing. And I think, to speak on a broader level, that's my bigger concern, because I know we've talked about this too, to bring it back to something that we can all agree on, is the bigger concern for Xbox game studios as an organization, as they grow and they buy publishers. Bethesda gets folded in, potentially Activision Blizzard, and all these employees, right? At each level of leadership, it takes a lot to deliver effectively major AAA first-party games consistently. And at this point in time, as we said, I believe early in the show, Xbox isn't there. They're not at a point where they have my confidence that they're doing that effectively. I want them to. I hope they'll get there. I actually do think they will get there. They're not there today. And I think regardless of what you think about the games, the companies, anything else, it took PlayStation a while to get there themselves through the PS3 into the PS4 generation, but they did get there. And they have shown that they do this effectively. And it's not easy. And I think that 343 is the poster board for these failures, right? Halo's the biggest IP. Infinite had a lot of promise behind it, big budget game, a lot of employees, a lot of work, and there's been multiple failures with it. And despite the things I love about it, despite me playing it constantly, as we've talked about, it feels great to play, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's absolutely failures, right? Big ones. And my hope is that this restructuring is what is needed and that the new leadership coming in really understands the onus of the position they're stepping into and that they treat it with the respect and kind of dedication that we hope they do. Because I'll tell you what, guys, if we get multiple years out from now, we're cast co-op, I'm half dead, I've got less hair than I do now. And we're talking about
what's the difference of
and
less than zero.
And we're talking, and Luke looks like me, I'm going to be, I'd be incredibly pissed off if we don't see some serious progress with the IP and management of it here in the near future. So
I agree with a lot of what you just said. I think we're in agreement on far more than we are in disagreement on, despite the heat.
The yelling.
I am curious, Ains, because I went in and I looked at the bot boot camp. That's not what I meant. I was thinking more like you gain XP towards your battle pass. Is that a thing you didn't do? Like, can I get in there and play against?
Sorry for typing without mute, guys. I apologize.
Yeah, how dare you?
Play like heroic versus like with my buddies. Can we jump in and just play against heroic bots and get battle pass cred?
Partially. So this is one of those things where companies, right? So they had challenges that said like get 5 kills with the pistol, right?
Right.
And you could do that against players or bots. And you could get those challenges. And then people complained that, hey, I can just go in and I can finish every challenge instantly against bots. Why are you letting people do that? So some of them, I believe you still can. I'm not 100%. But 2, if it says PvP in the challenge, you have to do it against people. Okay. That's how you know.
And I would love a world where I can just jump in. We can just play, just beat some.
Well, yeah, that's a no-win situation for them. They did have it like that. And then people started saying, you're letting everyone just fight bots to finish everything, and yeah, you know how that goes.
One last question.
Would be better if they just listen to me. Just saying.
Well, one last question: would Halo be in a better place if they were just like, "Hey, listen, we're saying here's what we're saying. Here's what here's what Halo is to us going forward: campaign, arena, Forge. Yes. These are the 3 things we're going to focus on." Yes. Would Halo be in a better state if they just drew the line in the sand and said, this is what we're capable of.
Defining expectations is everything.
100% agree.
Xbox, Aaron Greenberg specifically, learning this lesson before our eyes over the last 7 years. Getting out in front of things. Hey, Starfield's not going to be at this developer direct. Look for it later on. Hey, we weren't at Game Awards. We know that. We've got stuff coming for you early. When you get out and set expectations, PlayStation does a good job of this usually. Helps a lot. I think they could have communicated a few things here and there, but when they take their L's and they learn from them, it's smart. Yes, Joe. You
I'm trying to go on mute and type and do multiple things.
No, I got it.
I agree with you guys completely. I think that many of us that have talked about the stuff we talked about tonight have already said Pierre Hintz, right, in the very near future, needs to come out as the new studio head and be exceedingly clear about his leadership thoughts, right? His view on Halo as an IP. And if this is all true, which fundamentally we know it's true, I wouldn't have shared it if it wasn't, right? They need to define what that means for Halo. Here's what we're doing to deliver more content more effectively in live service. Here's what you can expect to see from us in the coming months / years, roadmap, what have you. Here's what we think of when we think about the Halo IP as a brand and as a single player game. So for you people who are invested in Chief's story and the weapon and not Atreus, Jesus Christ, Atriox, excuse me. Here's what we are thinking for that. They need to absolutely, I agree with Luke 100% saying setting expectations is critical. Because otherwise you just let speculation run rampant and then it's a mess.
Well, then you have what we have where it's like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. If I know I'm not going to get it, I don't need to look for it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think, there's a lot of opportunities for them in that regard. Like the stuff that they're supposedly adding to Forge for the community to build, like the firefight type stuff, right? The PvE. Why haven't they talked about that for the broader community? Even if you don't have a timeline, come out and publicly say, we know there's those of you in the Halo community that adored Firefight and adored Warzone. Excuse me. Sorry, I got the hiccups. Here's what we have planned for the players who enjoy that, right? Talk about it. Yeah. This is incredible stuff you guys are building. Even if it takes a little time, set those expectations.
I really hope they don't leave it to the community to make everything they won't or can't. I like community involvement, but I hope they do a good job to make that an integrated part of Infinite. If the community creates Firefight, make it a playlist. Give it a playlist. You know what I mean? Like, don't let me dig.
See, and they've talked about that as well. Like,
good to hear.
They have Forge playlists coming with curated modes, right? That you can play in multiplayer and matchmaking. Like, all of that stuff's being worked on. And it should be here. Actually, believe it or not, this is going to sound wild based on the conversation. That will be here sooner than you think. Because good. Sean Barron, who's now the head of live service, said that they actually tried to get that out in the winter update, the Forge playlist. And they were working on it. They were close, but it just needed a little more. So I expect that actually pretty soon.
That's good to hear. That's really good to hear.
Yeah. So they are working. It's just, yeah.
Let's wrap this up, boys. I thought this.
Yeah, we've been talking a while. I know. We do have a nice super chat from Mr. Mariano Pampa. I can't say it like he can.
He's so cool. I love him.
999 super chat Mario Pampa. But with the future plans where Halo goes to other studios, do you guys think this is the opportunity for Halo to be seen in PlayStation, Nintendo? I'll add ecosystems to the end of that sentence.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yes. I think depends on what he means. So if the idea is like, okay, you're going to let Halo exist in other genres, other platforms. If you get your Mega Bloks Halo, why wouldn't you let that be on Switch too? Right. If this is like, no, okay, this studio is going to create a PvE Halo experience. Okay. Is it first person? Okay. That needs to stay exclusive. Are you creating a Halo survival or like that Gear survival game where it's just you and you're in on Sarah, or if it's in Halo, you're on a planet and it's a survival or spec ops type game? No, that stays exclusive. But if it's got a broad audience appeal, or it's a cloud-based infrastructure game that can be on mobile, if you're letting Halo exist in other platforms, if it suits it, yes, let it go. The Mega Bloks game, put that shit on Switch. If it's a mobile experience, put it everywhere. What is it? If it's going to be a system seller, you keep that exclusive. That's my thought.
You're never going to see Halo on PlayStation. Not anytime soon, that's for sure. So no. Like if you see a Mega Bloks Halo, sure. But
no.
On Switch, I don't think on PlayStation.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Luke on this one. I think that if you're thinking like, and Phil Spencer did do an interview about this, right, with Halo being seen, and he actually has a quote saying that he sees Halo as having the potential to be around like Star Wars as an IP. And I think we've all talked about what we would like to see out of Halo as an IP. But I think if they're going this route, as we know, right, and they start to spread this out, to Luke's point, I think you could see other types of Halo games that would land in other areas. We did see Spartan Strike, right, and Spartan Assault, which were kind of PC and slash, fun little twin stick shooter games. But I think that it depends who's developing. My I don't know the word to use here. My expectation is that Xbox Game Studios has so many first-party developers now, right? That they, depending on the project, depending on resource allocation, that will be Halo as an IP will be moved around kind of all over the place.
Yes.
So,
like, hey, we'll finally get that Halo game. We're all speculating.
Yeah, we could get that.
Yeah,
I'd buy that. Someone, I think it was said Jerome game in third person would slap hard. Absolutely. There's just so many opportunities with Halo. Give me Arbiter as a full-on Arbiter game with the Covenant. I mean, there's so many different things you can do with Halo.
Sure.
I want to spec.
But we want those games to be interesting, so maybe let's just keep it to the Spartans.
But I think, and we're also getting well ahead of ourselves. Deliver the next good campaign in under 5 years, please. Then we'll start to talk about,
if you get
everything.
If you get your Arbiter game, you take lessons from the Mandalorian. Okay, you're not going to go with Star Wars proper, but you're going to see a lightsaber at some point. It's not the main thing, but you're going to see it. So I need to see the Spartans. If I'm not playing around or with, I need to see the Spartans. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to be so far removed from what makes you you. That's the kicker. Master Chief and the Spartans are Halo. So if you're going to have your Arbiter game, you need to be able to interact or see the Spartans at some point. Mando is not about Jedi, but you do see and know they exist. You see it on occasion. Those are fun parts. They're not the main point, but it's a part. So I don't want them to go so far away they forget what they are.
That's fair. I think ODST is a good example, right?
Yep.
It tied into the lore, really kind of celebrated game in terms of Halo. I'm hopeful. Like I said, I tend to lean more positive. I know that I do. I guess I'm hopeful. And the other thing that I like to think of, like, as much as I adore Halo and I want the best for it and everything, at the end of the day, I'm still enjoying Halo Infinite multiplayer, which is where I play most anyway, because I am that competitive player. They are speeding up, like we talked about. They're improving delivery there, which is good. And quite frankly, guys, there's so many other good games that I'm looking forward to. I just want whoever is in charge here to take their time and get it right. Set that foundation for the future that's actually going to be delivered properly. That's all I want. So, By the way, Captain Logan says, where the hell's GoldenEye?
There you go.
Is it not next week?
Guys, listen, I'd like to talk to y'all for another extra hour of this show. But I made a mistake earlier on this week when I made you two fight. And had to hash out this goddamn same point where neither you're all see. Oh, I see your side, sort of, kind of.
Joe, if you didn't bring up the same point 3 separate times, we probably could have shaved like 15 minutes.
If you just took some type of responsibility, if you just went, you know what, guys, you may have had a point for the first 3 times. We wouldn't be.
By the way, thank you, Logan, for the super chat, man. Appreciate you.
Is it next week? GoldenEye?
GoldenEye, I don't know when it is. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care.
How many times is it going to come up?
I don't care. That game, people are in for a rude awakening who go back and play that game.
Yeah.
It is bad. By the way, Big Box asked if we are on podcast feeds. We are. So you can look us up, Cast Co-op, on all your main ones, Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, et cetera, we are. So.
I like how you list the most popular and then like the 2 least popular right afterwards.
It's just whatever's in my mind. But anyway, guys, it's been fun. Who wants to close us out here?
I'll start us off. Thank you all for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. We enjoy hanging out with you guys. It's good to have a long episode. We don't usually do those. I will turn into a dust if I don't get to bed before the sun is up. So, we got to be careful.
That's true.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Insipid Ghost. You can find my content on all your podcast services and YouTube, the Xbox Expansion Pass. We're really working to up our game in 2023. So I'm really proud of that. Please follow Captain Logan. He's in the chat as well. He's my new co-host for XEP. I sincerely say that I'm really proud of it, boys, because I was almost ready to quit. And you guys know that. And I felt like it was a turning point, and I really am hopeful for the content we have coming this year, and to not do it alone is dope. So there you go.
I take full responsibility.
You
would be dead without me.
Okay.
I played a pivotal role.
You played a role. All right. Ains, tell us what's going on with Bitcast. Shout out to Hogue. Tell us what's up, man.
Yeah, to Luke's point, check out XCP. I pretty much argue Halo with him on purpose to keep him alive, keep him, engaged, and I think that keeps him, kind of pumped up and ready to get the content. So it is all by design, by the way. Yeah, so you're on Season Gaming. I always say Season Gaming channel. So Big Cast is Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Live show. Hogue is working through the stroke recovery. Obviously, goes without saying that is very extensive. He is in rehab right now. Mrs. Hogue has told me he has 10 people working with him every day. And walking and talking and everything that goes along with recovering from a stroke. So please wish him the best. Any of you that donated to his GoFundMe or send him something or just in any way, really appreciate it. For now, me, Travis, and Dan are rocking Big Cast. 3-person. We're gonna have a guest here and there. We've got a special guest coming on in a couple weeks, which I'll announce when we're closer. But just appreciate everyone checking us out. And as always, support over at Season Gaming has been amazing. The channel rocketed past 17,000 subs last week, I think, or whenever. And it's just been, the growth has been awesome. So I appreciate you guys checking out our content.
And Joseph Moran.
Yeah, and listen, you can find me over on the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. Last week was the Trophy Room Award, where over 5,000 of y'all tuned in, where over 2,500 of y'all voted for your game of the year and so many other awesome categories, like Best Indie. So happy who won Best Indie. But to find all that out, go to the Trophy Room. This week we're talking all things Ubisoft related, Suicide Squad related, and some Metal Gear Solid rumors and inclinations. And also this little show called The Last of Us came out. We gave some of our thoughts about it as well. A great episode.
And PSVR 2 and Edge are all coming within a month.
And I can't buy them. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? PlayStation
I got
Direct.
your
They
Edge.
just gave
It's
me
coming.
the email. It's coming. I appreciate that. I just got the email back from them, and they're like, "We're looking into it." It's like about time to look into it. About time. Anyway, you can find the Trophy Room over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you find your podcast service of choice. You can find the Trophy Room there, and you could get the VODs over at the Trophy Room Show on YouTube. I might make it a mission to hit 10,000 this year. That's a huge goal, but we seem like we keep breaking them, so maybe that's something I'll do. I don't know, but. All right, I am supposed to exit out the show as well. So, you can find the show wherever you find your podcast service of choice as well. Of course, Season Gaming every other week or when we feel like it. We are the second most popular show on this channel, and I take full responsibility for that, as well as Luke Lore's success and his downfall. So, with that said, keep. What's that? Oh God, keep casting that. Keep casting that call.